Everyone, and welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, Wednesday, April 22nd, 8:30 a.m. in City Hall Council Chambers. And as always, we will have our prayer and our pledge, and we're bringing up from Kingdom Life Church, Christian Church, Pastor Don Steriano.
Good morning. Would
Morning.
you stand, please?
Please stand.
Good morning, everyone. As we're recognizing Police Week, my prayer will be focused on our wonderful officers that serve and protect. So would you bow your heads, please? Father of heaven and earth, I lift up our valiant law enforcement officers before you now. I ask that you and all of heaven would take notice and honor this prayer for these who have vowed to dedicate their lives to serve and protect your children on the earth whom you dearly love. I pray that your mighty hand and your outstretched arm would go before them in the battle of justice, anointing them to be your ambassadors of divine order, so to foil the deeds of those who plot evil. I ask of your Holy Spirit to envelop each of them with the peace of Christ that transcends understanding, guiding them with the wisdom of Solomon as they guard the citizens of our nation and this friendly city. Grant them the courage and strength of King David to defeat the Goliaths of wrongdoing, and impart in them the loving kindness of David the shepherd, to serve with compassion and a gentle hand, discerning when to be a lion and when to be a lamb, that they may serve with the heart of the king and lead with the heart of a servant. As they continue to deploy to their unselfish assignments, I declare Isaiah 54:17 over them all, that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment shall be condemned. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is from me, says the Lord. I pray that you would bless our city leaders as they govern the needs and the affairs of our city in these proceedings in this meeting today. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. And everyone said, Amen.
Amen.
All right, please join us in the pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Pastor Don. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk.
The first item on the agenda is a proclamation for Police Week and Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to read this. Whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls as Police Week. And whereas the members of Florida law enforcement agencies play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of our citizens. And whereas it is essential that all Florida citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their unwavering commitment to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas it is appropriate to commemorate police officers past and present who have dedicated their service to their communities and demonstrated utmost courage in preserving the rights and security of all citizens. And whereas on May 15th, we honor all peace officers who, through their courageous deeds, have lost their lives or have become disabled in the performance of duty. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Gene Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 15th, 2026 as Peace Officers Memorial Day and May 10th through 16th, 2026 as Police Week, and encourage all citizens to participate in activities honoring our police and peace officers.
Thank you. And who do we have accepting this award?
I'm accepting on behalf of Chief Kramer, who is,
All right, and
and
all of
obviously
everybody in the audience.
everybody in the room here today.
So if everybody would come forward, please.
You have to tell them twice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Exactly. In the middle will be a little contorted. You want your box? That's how we do it.
You need the box for this one.
Like you like it.
The mini box. Pam look short.
I know, I feel like it's out of order.
We're gonna have to squeeze in and turn at an angle,
45-degree angle.
45-degree angle.
I know.
Some of y'all never took geometry.
Super for a second.
And usually I'm out.
I'm always gonna be bigger than this.
Right.
Nobody blink, I'm kidding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chief, and obviously, we love our Bradenton Police Department and are glad to be able to have our own and work through things. Madam Clerk?
Our next proclamation is Salvation Army Week, May 11th through the 16th, 2026. Whereas, for more than 103 years, the Salvation Army has faithfully walked alongside the people of Bradenton, serving not just physical needs, but restoring hope, dignity, and spiritual strength to individuals and families in their most difficult moments. And whereas the Salvation Army stands on the front lines wherever the need is greatest, responding in times of crisis and uncertainty to those facing homelessness, hunger, addiction, and emotional or spiritual hardship, ensuring that no one in our community must struggle alone. And whereas the Salvation Army calls upon the citizens of Bradenton to continue to answer the call with faith and love, to step forward with compassion, generosity, and purpose to help us expand life-changing programs that meet urgent needs and create lasting impact in our community. And whereas Salvation Army Week provides a meaningful opportunity to recognize and celebrate the power of philanthropy, volunteerism, and community partnership that continues to strengthen the city of Bradenton and uplift our most vulnerable neighbors. And whereas the week serves as a powerful reminder that each of us has a role to play, and that though giving our time, resources, and hearts, we can come together to bring hope, healing, and transformation to those who need it most during these most challenging times. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Jean Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, Florida, do hereby proclaim May 11th through the 16th, 2026, as Salvation Army Week in Bradenton, and urge all citizens to give back to the community in any way that is personally meaningful. Signed, Jean Brown, Mayor.
Thank you. And I know we have some people here to come forward, all the Salvation Army family. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come today. With your help, we have been working very hard in this city for over 100 years, and we continue to tell you that we'll be here for another 100 years. As long as the need is there, we'll continue to fight. So thank you so much. This week that you've given to us to be able to proclaim the gospel and to proclaim the work of the Salvation Army and continue it here, we can't do it without all of you. So thank you so much. And we accept this morning, and we'll display it in a place of prominence and tell everyone as they come in that we will still be here and continue, and you can count on us. Thank you.
Good. Well, I'll just start out by thanking you and your team, obviously, for all the time that in our city. We're doing a lot of things around our city that some people at times think they're not seeing something. But with the opportunity that we have to help those that need us the most, whether it's the homeless or other opportunities to help people that are either having some mental issues, drug issues, different things, but with the collaboration with the county through Fresh Start Manatee that will hopefully be opening up soon,
Yes.
the Under One Roof that's open for the women,
Yes.
and then also the collaboration with Salvation Army turning into a family shelter.
Yes, sir.
That will be something that is, county gets a lot of press on it, and we're glad for that, but they're the big brother in the room, and we're glad to be working through that. And I think when we see the comments on Facebook that we're not doing anything, or the social media and that, we are doing stuff as a team, and it takes the Salvation Army, and we appreciate what you're doing to really work the model into making our city the friendly city, as well as the next generation of how we help people. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your leadership in that, and you got a great team behind you.
I do, sir.
And
Thank you.
the past teams have been unbelievable to continue that, to make it better in downtown Bradenton, but in the lives of people that need us the most at that time.
Thank you, sir. We will continue to strive to do the most good, and we invite all of you to come behind the red shield with us,
Yes.
to be able to see those things that you were talking about. And I guess I should say, I challenge you to come and be with us.
So tell us about a big item that's coming in, hopefully soon, and going to be working.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that up. If you remember when the storms came through a couple of years ago, when it hit us, we lost all of our power, and we had to take everyone that was in our social service areas and move them into county shelters. Paul Fowler is here with me, and Paul is the director of our social services, and it was on his responsibility that the shoulders that landed on. We had to move all of these folks out, and of course, when the power came back on in other places, well, they brought everybody back down, and we were out for about 4 days with no power. The mayor contacted us, and the city council, with your backing, we're able to put now a generator that should be on the ground very quickly. It's been a lot of red tape because of power or gas lines that have to be run and everything else. But we thank you. That generator will be up and running, and we will not lose power down there and be able to continue our services if we're hit by such a storm as what we had when Milton came through.
And that came through, as we all know, up here, but the public came through CDBG monies that was available, and Vicki White and her crew did a great job at working through it, and it takes a little longer at times than we always hope, but now I know that we're just waiting for the generator to get there.
We're just waiting for it to
Yeah,
get there.
and
Pam Burden, who is our contracts person, has been working very quickly and very hard with your people down here, and Vicki's been doing a great job.
Well, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Let's get a picture. You guys stand there, and we'll stand up behind you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Come on, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Have a great day.
Thank you. Yep, good, doing good. Yep.
See you soon.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, I'll take this one. We're going to read another proclamation, and it kind of plays into a lot of things that will come up very shortly, but it's a proclamation for Small Business Week, which is May 3rd through 9th, that kind of missed the deadline to get on the agenda, but I'm going to take executive privilege here and read it, the proclamation that we're going to do. Then we'll have our chamber members come up, and I think when we have come up, and I see a lot of people out there that may be here for something else, but also very active past chairmen of the chamber, and that we ask you to come up and get in the picture as well if you're on the chamber board. So, whereas small businesses are the backbone of our local economy, creating jobs, driving innovation, and contributing to the unique character of our community. Whereas small business play a vital role in strengthening the economic health and resilience of the city of Bradenton by supporting local families, generating tax revenue, and fostering entrepreneurship. Whereas the dedication, creativity, and perseverance of small business owners and their families, and their employees contribute to a vibrant and thriving business environment. Whereas small business enhances the quality of life in our community by providing essential goods and services, supporting local initiatives, and investing in the neighborhoods they serve. Whereas the Manatee Chamber of Commerce, in partnership with the City of Bradenton, plays a critical role in supporting, advocating for, and promoting small businesses throughout the region. Whereas the City of Bradenton is proud to recognize the contributions of small businesses and encourages residents to support local establishments during this special week and throughout the year. Now therefore it be resolved that I, Gene Brown, as mayor of the city of Bradenton, do hereby proclaim May 3rd through 9th, 2026 as Small Business Week, and urge all citizens to recognize the critical role small businesses play in our community and to support them by shopping locally and engaging with local entrepreneurs. Thank you, and congratulations for our chamber staff that's there. Others on the chamber board or that, please come forward as well. Mr. Chapman, I think you're on that through our school board, not to call you out, but anybody that's on that board, come up. Yep, and see Dr. Price out there and others coming up. Well, I'll start out by saying one of the things that I think is so important as we look through, and I go to a lot of ribbon cuttings, whether they're in the city or the county, because we are one community, even though we have some boundaries with what we do. One of the things that is so proud moments when you're out there is looking at how exciting people are. And we had Jackie yesterday at the Kiwanis luncheon to give her talk, and we're the largest chamber in this region because by membership, and the majority of our members are 5 employees or less. So, you know, we have a lot of small businesses that are out there, but sometimes we grow into bigger businesses. But when you talk about what we can do to help individuals that are 5 employees or under that might not survive if they didn't have the chamber's help and the collaboration that we have. And when you look out at what we can do in the city of Bradenton, our urban core is thriving at a point now. But I think we're going to be able to even grow that with other help out there through EDCs, through other memberships, chamber memberships and that. And I'm just so proud at this moment to not only serve on that board as a liaison for the city, but also to be a sponsor of the chamber. Because you look at when you look at what you give back to a community, it's what they give back to you as a small business and as a community. And as big as Bradenton and Manatee County is getting, we're still a small community. And when you look at our core, that is what we're thriving up here. So that's why I took that executive privilege to get this on, and I thought it was important to wait till May. It would have already been kind of going on or over, but thank you, and we appreciate what the chamber does. And as I say when I get to talk at the ribbon cuttings, we have the best chamber in the world, 5-time Florida Chamber of the Year, National Chamber of the Year, and I may be right or wrong on this, but I think they changed the rules in Florida because of us. Because we won it 4 years in a row, and we probably would have kept winning it. And so they said, well, you can only win it now once every 5 years. Well, as soon as the 4 times in a row, as soon as the 5 years came around, we were right up there. So we were the first one to win it. There was a repeat winner over 5 years. So, you know, Jackie goes, well, I don't know if that's totally true. I believe that. I'm going to the grave with that. But
And I
anyway,
believe we're eligible next year.
yeah, so we're back into the
reapply.
5-year again.
To get that
But
6.
congratulations and thank you. Got something?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for taking that executive privilege, and to the city of Bradenton for proclaiming Small Business Week and for their ongoing partnership in supporting our local business community. This recognition, which is a shared commitment to the entrepreneurship and small businesses that drive our local economy and shape the character of our community. Through strong collaboration between the city and the Manatee Chamber of Commerce, we are able to create meaningful opportunities, amplify the voices of those businesses, the community, and continue building a vibrant and resilient local economy together. So grateful that, again, when you're part of the chamber, you know, it's just you can't go anywhere without having your support. And of course, came here and we have all that. So I don't know, Stu, if you want to say anything as immediate past chair or anyone else, but.
I want to thank you for your sponsorship over the years and contributions and connecting us to the city. So we're grateful for that.
Good.
Thanks for the
Thank you.
service.
Yep. We appreciate it. Let's get a picture. Thank you. Congratulations. Madam Clerk.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
Yes.
we have a gentleman in the audience that we would like to recognize for some years of service
Okay.
who's retiring with the city.
And,
I'm going to have Director Lee come up,
yes, sir.
and he'll take it from there.
Looks like he's excited. It's a good thing.
Good morning, Mayor.
Morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Perry.
Mr. Jones.
I just want to take a moment. Obviously, Greg will probably tell you that March 8th, 2001 was a momentous date for him because that was the date that he started with the city of Bradenton. And now he's on the verge of completing his tenure with us with over 25 years of service. So we didn't want to let him get away without, first of all, just giving him the opportunity to be recognized. So what he does, if you all are not aware of it, is not something that's glamorous and, deserving of or typically seeing recognition, but it is at the foundation of what Public Works and Utilities is all about. The infrastructure systems, in wastewater are literally, we could not function without them. Greg has been the backbone of that operation for 25 years, and we didn't want to let him get away without allowing him to have a moment just to if you want to say something. He's a man of few words.
That's what I was gonna say.
But we want
Well,
to give you the opportunity to.
well, the only thing I want to say, I want to thank you guys for giving me that opportunity in March of 2001. Ms. Barnaby, you was here. Thank you guys, y'all was here. It's been a pleasure working with a lot of you. I ain't gonna say everybody, but most of you. Yeah, it's been a pleasure. And I really enjoyed working, serving the citizens of Bradenton. I put my all into it all those years, to try to please the residents. Sometimes I did things I shouldn't have did, by helping them out. But if you find a elderly lady, and she can't do it, I went a little further up on the property. I know I shouldn't have did it, but it was just in my heart to do it. But like I say, thank you guys. Okay.
Yeah, and I'll say that whenever we were having all the fun through the storms and everything else going on, anytime I came up to an area and I saw you there, I knew two things was going to get taken care of, no matter what.
Yes,
Some of the things that you said, but also that the scene was going to be controlled and calm because of your demeanor. So a lot of times we don't see as much of that day to day. 24, we saw a lot of that, and I just appreciate all that you've done, and Godspeed for the rest of your life, and enjoy. Maybe not so much excitement at times, but
Right.
thank you for what you've done for our city and made it the friendly city.
Yes, sir.
And that's important. So,
Thank you.
all right, Ms. Barnaby.
Thank you for your dedication to our citizens. We knew that if you were on the scene, it was taken care of. And we appreciate that very much.
Mr. Perry.
Just briefly, I want to say thank you to Greg for the last 5 years working with you. Greg was probably the person I saw out on the streets when I wasn't on duty, and he wasn't supposed to be on duty either. After hours, it would be a sad day out up by GT Bray. I remember one time, and here he is with the shovel, small crew trying to address some issues. The east side, same kind of thing, just always there. Kind of bought in the whole friendly city thing from the past and taught his folks right. Phil Campbell worked under his tutelage, and that whenever I would have management discussions with them, I always felt comfortable that they were representing the true interest of the city to be service-orientated and reflect that, let the citizens know, great ambassador, great technician, great human resource kind of manager of his folks in his unit, and you did it right, man, you really did. And I know the work that you did is thankless, and I know that it's also the kind of work that really matters.
Thank you. We appreciate it. So,
Greg, I got a picture.
Picture. Memorialize.
You almost made it out.
Or stand with him. Get with him.
Yeah, Lance, why don't you get down there with him?
Moving briskly, knees to chest, knees to chest.
Thank you.
Thanks, Greg.
Madam Clerk?
We do not have any presentations scheduled this morning.
All right, at this time, we'll go to citizen comment. Citizen comment will be accepted during the citizen comment portion of the meeting on any non-agenda item, agenda item, future agenda item, or topic of relevance to the city. Comments will be accepted on the public hearings at the appropriate time. So at this time, I have several cards. One of them is specific to one topic that could come up, so I'll call up Pat Simmons at this time. If you could please state your name, you have 3 minutes. The others we'll probably do at the appropriate time when that item comes up, so it'd be right after this. So good morning, Ms. Simmons.
Sorry. I want to show you my shirt, first of all. I'm Pat Simmons, Manatee County. This came across my desk on the 20th, and I think it's something that you probably already know about, but they don't. It came to me from the American Council for the Blind, and it's called the Interim Final Rule Order. And it would delay web and mobile accessibility requirements for the state and local governments under Title II of the ADA. And depending on the size of the entity, it could be a year delay or it could be a 2-year delay, which on paper sounds great. Hey, we've got a year to develop programs. But in reality, extending these deadlines denies timely access to essential government services, information, forcing people with disabilities to wait even longer for rights that should already be applied. So I wanted you to keep that in the back of your mind. And like one of my favorite politicians said, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And the second thing is, real quick, DEI. Everybody thinks it only talks about race, but it also includes ramps, sidewalks, and curb cutouts, subtitles and captions on TV, phones, and now movies. Work accommodations for a variety of disabilities, among many other things. So I just wanted you to know that, wanted them to know that there are some things coming down the road that you'll probably hear about. So thank you for your time.
Ms. Simmons, can you turn and face the camera and let them zoom in on what's on your front of your shirt so they can, so the public can see it? Thank you. Like I said a second ago, the rest of the comments are on an item that I believe is going to be pulled from the consent agenda. So I'm going to hold those until that, if that happens, and then we'll go from there. If that's all right, pleasure of the board. Thank you. So we have no other citizen comments on open comments. So at this time, the chair will entertain a motion for consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
I move to approve consent agenda items A through L.
A through
L.
L, and with leaving M off right now, and second by Ms. Coachman, all right. We're gonna go ahead and vote on A through L, pulling M, all right. No further discussion?
Mayor, I have had the opportunity to
Yes.
speak with council about all the items that are on the consent agenda and try to answer any questions, provide any additional information, and address any other issues with council.
Okay, so we'll have a vote on A through L with M pulled by Mrs. Moore. We'll start the vote in Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Carries unanimously. Mrs. Moore.
I wanted to have a discussion with you all about the second extension of the contract between the city of Bradenton and the Bradenton Area Economic Development Corporation. Do you want me to say you want me to go ahead and?
Go ahead, yes. Thank you.
Okay. The conversation that I wanted to have with you all, just to give you some background, I watched the county meeting at which the county adopted their most recent contract with the EDC, and it was really impressive. The presentation was great. You could tell that there was a lot of preparedness and research that went into that presentation and the contract terms. Notably, the 5 targeted industries that they're going to be working on. Also, the performance metrics, which not only measured activity, but also results. And then the payment being tied to that performance. And so, kudos for that, because I thought that that was really well done. My personal experience, since we have been under contract with them, and also in this time of transition that they're in with not having, or not yet potentially, or having the loss of their, the loss of their CEO, was that I had a great meeting with the interim CEO initially upon her appointment, and I thought that was really positive. I was very blunt about expectations and experience to date. I also had a great meeting with Mr. Landefeld regarding the Dover Coal Visioning Plan. Also very thorough, very hopeful. But then after that, I feel like there's been little or inconsistent communication. That really is the extent of the communication that I've had since the interim was appointed. And not only me, but also with the CRA. I don't think that they're communicating with the CRA either. And before I go into why the communication part I think is crucial, I'll just say about the actual contract itself, when you compare it to what was presented to the county, it reads to me like it is much of the same, and I think everyone up here, and I think the EDC already is aware that I had issues with the previous contract, and what I thought was a little generality. We tried to correct that with 3 pages of deliverables, and now the current contract actually reduces the deliverables to only 5 bulleted items, which, when I look at those 5 bulleted items, generally speaking, actually refer to work to determine future deliverables. And that was disappointing. That it felt like we were going in the wrong direction. And then for the issue of the communication, it's one thing. I mean, like, it's fine. I expect communication, because I think that we're all really interested in collaboration, and I think we all can acknowledge that not one entity is going to act in a silo. The chamber is relevant, the city is relevant, the EDC is relevant. The CRA is relevant, and the reason why I had concerns about a lack of communication in this process with the CRA is that I felt that it was undervaluing the role of the CRA. I don't consider the work of the CRA to just be a bank or to be just grants and that sort of thing. I think that the work that the CRA is doing behind the scenes is actually quite complicated and crucial to the success of our economic development plans going forward. And so I want to see all of us bringing all the talents and the resources and the strengths together. And so I felt like the contract as it is, I would like to see us improve it. And I would like to see commitment I think if we tabled this particular contract with direction in those areas and any other areas that you all felt that they should focus on, we could get to a place where we felt more comfortable with what was going to be proposed, and also it would give us an opportunity to be reassured that the EDC understands that it's all of those players, that it's every part of that has value, and without one of them, or dropping off one, or any of them is going to be problem. It's just not going to be a success. It's my thought. That's pretty much that's it.
Yeah, I would agree with Ms. Gonzalez's points in terms of the presentation from what was presented was thorough. The targeted industries is a good step. From the get-go, from this period last year to now, my hesitancies have been around deliverables and what actually the metrics are. The second concern of mine, which I agree with you, holds true today, is after those initial meetings and the Dover coal presentation, it just seems that from where we are, whatever the source of it is, that it's disorganization and it's not on the same page. Invites being missed, invites not being sent, saying, furthermore, when we check with our partners, the CRA, for instance, in those documents, it seems to me that the CRA is mentioned repetitively, and yet when asking members within the CRA staff, has this happened, has this occurred, seldom, if at all. And that's just, my opinion of, so here we are in terms of transparency and community buy-in from other partners that obviously economic development is extremely important, but it seems that we're not being represented adequately. And I also agree with you that if we do redo the contract, there has to be directives in there. I'm personally, we don't have a vote. That kind of stands out to me. I don't know. I thought the contract was up in January. There's language within here that it was, so I'm kind of at a loss as to where we even are on the current contract as well. And I feel like we're not being represented.
Ms. Coker, Vice Mayor Coker?
Yes. It would be redundant for me to repeat a lot of it, but I want to say that I see a lot of faces here, and I know a lot of people that are involved with this that I have a tremendous amount of respect and like a lot. But I feel like I have to work on behalf of the taxpaying citizens. And so, as much as I like you and think that you do a lot of great things for our community, I feel like when it comes to the city of Bradenton, maybe we aren't being as well served. I have been somewhat vocal. I mean, when you hear members that don't even want to be called Bradenton, that was very disconcerting to me. While the Dover Coal report was good, it was very frustrating that when it was presented to us, we had not even seen a copy of it, and we couldn't engage or ask meaningful questions at that time. And I agree with the not having a vote, which maybe there's good reasoning behind it. I haven't heard it. But we had all expressed a big concern about the new hire being from local. And when not even one of the finalists was a local, it doesn't seem like our requests or feelings were even considered. And I have been a big proponent of economic development. I think I was one of the initial people that pushed us to do it. But unfortunately, at this point, the way it's been done up till now is, I just cannot support it at this time unless we make some changes or address some of those.
All right, thank you. Mr. Perry?
Mayor, when I did my briefings with council, there was a wide variety of comments and different opinions and ideas and suggestions that referenced EDC's service of the city of Bradenton as it relates to economic development. And it was interesting to hear those comments. I think when you talk about economic development in general, whether you're in a large city or at a state level, where I sat in cabinet rooms and listened to the state's economic development director, I've come to realize that, first off, I'm not an economic development expert, and that the variety and diversity of economic development has a certain core that deals with recruitment of new companies, retention of existing companies, and expansion of those companies. But beyond that, it's a very amorphous type of thing, economic development. And everybody seems to say, well, what we want you to do is kind of find us the secret sauce. And I tell people the city of Bradenton, as I told our council, is 14.4 square miles. It's a fairly urban area. It's not Manatee County. Manatee County has a whole eastern plain of developability for both commercial, residential, transportation infrastructure, and we're not that. Whatever we do, we have to figure it out. And I think that's pretty common to a lot of places. When you talk about economic development, and I know that Ms. Parrish sat down with every counselor, I think, to talk about this particular extension, this is what this is, of a contract, that when she sat down with them, she got probably a lot of good ideas, and I don't disagree with some of the comments I heard. I think the point I'm trying to make is that everybody thinks that this economic development is going to get you to the promised land. You know, we're not Microsoft, where we got a sugar daddy that says, well, bring Microsoft up to northwestern United States into Washington. And we're not, you know, Palo Alto and the hub of technology. And we're not Albuquerque, New Mexico, that has Los Alamos National Labs that does all the physics for the United States, or Sandia National Labs that does the computing and engineering, along with Air Force Research Labs. We're the city of Bradenton. And I think it's going to be even particularly harder, being such, to find what our, quote, secret sauce is when we identify the 5 industries as a specific objective. And that's what we're asking you to provide to EDC, to allow them to work with you, to work with the chamber, to work with our partners, to try to identify what they can be. Because in talking with counselors, again, it's not unlike talking with folks in the street. A lot of people have different ideas. But the reality is the only thing I can identify in the city of Bradenton after 5 years of being pretty close to what's going on around here is that we have a healthcare industry that's really good, and we have a tourism industry. But I can't identify any particular other industry. We don't have an airport. We have one down in Bradenton. I know EDC is working with the county on the airport aviation type of initiatives and the like. So, you know, as we move forward, I think it's important to look at, well, what would this EDC do for Bradenton? How would they service our council, our citizens, our administration, our mayor, the people? And really, we got a lot going on. We've got a marina repair project that basically takes the cornerstone of downtown that's going to, we're applying for basically $8 million in grants, in EDA grants, economic development grants, through the U.S. Department of Commerce. And I need some help with that, basically, as far as saying, how does that marina impact all of the downtown and all of the city and the surrounding areas? Because we're putting together a competitive grant. So those people have to go out and they got to talk to Realize Bradenton, they got to talk to downtown merchants, they got to talk to Chamber of Commerce, they got to talk to these people so that I can get supporting documentation. I don't have the resources to do that. And I don't think any counselors do either. And I don't think the guys at the public safety or anybody else in this room, including CRA. So there are services that are like that have to be supplemented. Be honest with you, when you look at what we've done in Bradenton, we have absolutely left port. Have we identified the destination? I don't think so. But we know that we took things in the past And we've been trying to be more intentional, whether it's more intentional in hundreds of millions of dollars in utility upgrades, whether it's more intentional in affordable housing, attainable housing, and all the great work that's been done there, particularly with the CRA and some of our partners, whether it's intentional as it relates to the private sector development of housing, whether it's intentional as it relates to Avenue of the Arts and our attempts to do that with the potential to bring a fairly significant educational institution that has housing and everything else, so that when you put that new $1 into the Bradenton economy, it generates about $5.50 worth of economic output. Other than having an economics degree, I don't know a whole lot about economics. I really don't, as it relates to economic development. But I know that these services that we have to kind of hone down are going to be unique to Bradenton, and I would ask that we consider, it's certainly within your prerogative, I don't discount the comments you've made and everything, and I think it needs to be heard by EDC. But there are all types of different things that we're looking at, whether it's the FDOT Bradenton Connector, the city center redevelopment, Tarpon Point, and basically Old Manatee, the homeless initiatives that you talked about, Fresh Start, that's all economic development. And typically it's not traditional. And I don't think it was served before and it was looked at in the right perspective, because that's what EDC could be helping us with, and picking up those paddles and rowing the boat with us on. So, we're looking at today an extension. I think it's worthy of consideration to provide the extension in order to continue services and not reach a gap. When I look at the alternative, that if we don't do EDC and we try to start some other alternative, there is going to be a startup gap, and I don't want to lose that. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to get long-winded and kind of give a fairly comprehensive view from the administration's perspective.
Thank you, Mr. Perry, and it's my turn first.
Okay.
Because I talked to that. I don't disagree with almost all the comments, from our counselors and our administrator. One of the things that Mr. Perry, Mr. Williams, and I sit in the box basically 7/24, and the counselors don't get to hear a lot of the things because, and we're all under sunshine here, which that's something I'll probably bring up at the next meeting about probably going on the ballot this year. I don't know if it's too late, Mr. Rudisell, but I do want to, and I'll say it now, I want to put on the ballot for the citizens to vote to take away my vote as a tie-breaking vote, because then I will be able to, talk with the council people during things like this to get the information out. And although, like I said, I agree with everything that was kind of said to a point, Vice Mayor Coker, I might agree with you on a lot of the way that things kind of happened through the search and some of the things that might not have been, I did want a local person, but I also, know that there's times in life, there's, dynamics that go along with that we have to address as it's a ebb and flow. But I do agree with Mr. Perry. It's at a point where this is an extension of what we already had while working through the process of seeing what the next steps are. They are not saying, we're going to do this, this, and this, these 5 things, and that's it. And that's what I'm comfortable with. This is an extension, though, of half of what we put in budget for it. It's $50,000 to finish out this year. We have not paid them any other money of the $100,000 that was in budget. So that was something that I felt was important. I don't know that the EDC staff at the time and our interim director and executive committee, they would want to get the whole 100, but I felt that they've already done a lot of work for us already through the Dover Coal. Whether we agree exactly with everything on Dover Coal, that was something on me for the most part, because I felt like we had to get a product that came out. And the first part of that, with the transition of executive director leaving, a new interim coming in, and really jumping on board at, I've seen a lot of executive directors that leave and they bring in an interim, and the interim rides it, even locally here. But we've been fortunate in this community to have others that came in and made the school district better during their interim. This Amanda Parrish stepped up and made our EDC a better transition stopgap to get to that point, and really did meet. Again, some of the meetings that you talk about that you didn't have, I'll take that, because some of it was more about trying to get a good product out, trying to get a product that we can actionable. And when you look at some of it, obviously you're all in wards and you've got destinations of your ward and you want things there, but we also look at the city. And all of us do that, but then we also get a little self-serving when in your ward, which is what you're supposed to do. But it's gotta be in a collaborative way. And I just think that, moving forward, again, we don't always have to agree on exactly everything, but this is something that, I believe it's the right time to push it forward with all the comments. They hear it. Obviously, when the new executive director comes in, I expect them to be meeting more and maybe even a monthly update at our meetings. Because again, it's gonna be hard to meet with all 5 of you, not because of their schedule, but because of your schedules. I'll meet with them again every day if I had to, and we talk about it. What is the right thing for Ward 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is gonna be different. The CRA, I saw this happen when this board, I'm not saying individuals sitting here, but the city council members in particular, 4 of them, and I was the one that voted against it, and it's one of the best things I think could have happened for us, but I was not for the transition from the advisory boards on the CRA to the council basically taking it over at the time, because we didn't have a plan. And so it took almost 2+ years to get that plan. And when the individual council member, which I have a lot of respect for, brought it up, and then it passed 4-1 and came to me and said, well, what's your plan? Well, I was the one that voted against that from the standpoint of knowing that you bring something up, you gotta have a plan for it. And the CRA suffered for that for 2 years. And that was the sad part. But I know losing that scenario, I wasn't against the scenario, but I was against what was next steps. And I wish we would have had next steps on that to get better, because it set it back. So to say that, moving forward, I believe it's the right time to extend it. And it's only extended it through this year. And then we're gonna have a time over the next few months in budget and stuff to figure out, is it going forward? And maybe we do, maybe we don't. I've been very supportive of it, because if we don't have any plan, then we're going backwards. And this is a plan to basically extend it. Like I said, the CRA is so important in this city that it's gonna help a lot of things. And it's not just a checkbook, but it's also how it's going. But there's a lot of the city that's not in the CRA. So the CRA can't work outside of its boundaries right now. So we need somebody else to be helping with that. And I think sometimes out of controversy comes greatness. And I think the EDC board, or I know the EDC board, is gonna be better. And when you're volunteers on a board, basically the board, I think they've heard some of the stuff. I don't disagree that why some of us don't have votes and others do. And I think government didn't get a vote, in my opinion, because they were basically ad hoc members on the committee. They never expected them to be at a higher rate of monetary commitments. So I think that needs to be addressed. I agree with that. I know it was brought up at our county commission yesterday. And so I think that's something that when the new executive director gets here, that they need to take a good look at. And I think that model was just followed when the EDC split off from the chamber. So I don't think it was anybody doing anything against anybody. So there was no conspiracy there. It was just, there wasn't a lot of communication at that point about why. So, but that's my opinion. And I know some of the people out in the audience and have heard me say that why doesn't the city have a vote? And there's some other dynamics going on with whether it's the executive committee or not. But I just really think that there's an opportunity to move forward today while still getting these questions answered and working through it, because there's a lot of hoppers in the situation right now that they are doing that sometimes you can't say it until it comes out. That's why the EDC, because some businesses that are thinking about it don't want, it's hard to be known. Just like when you hire an employee. Sometimes your employee doesn't want that in the public yet, because if they decide they don't get the job, then their boss is mad at them because they applied for a job. And if they do get the job, they got to transition out in the right way to give the respect of their previous business. So it's a hard, thing to balance. So, I just really think that there's an opportunity to keep the train moving collaboratively, and that's what we do. So, Vice Mayor Coker.
Oh, okay. I was wanting to respond to Mr. Perry. I would put an exclamation point on what you said. I completely agree with you 100%. I think my question is, which is the entity to do it? The EDC, I believe, the way it's been acting is not the person to do it for us. I am completely in support and behind, if we can get that to a point where they are working on our behalf. We do have those deliverables. We do have more influence over the decisions that are being made. And, but to say, okay, here's another $50,000 while you're figuring it out, that's what I'm struggling with. And the way what we're being asked to vote for today is I would certainly bring it back up if we could address the concerns that we've talked about somehow in that. And I would like the idea to say that we're going to continue along with them, but at least tie that 50,000 to something concrete, not that we'll look and develop. I would like to see it tied to something a little bit more concrete if we're going to do that. So that's my feeling.
Ms. Moore?
Right. I also agree with what Mr. Perry said. To be clear, I don't think at this moment in time it's wise for us to create an economic development department or hire a handful of new people. But I think everything you just said could be reduced to the contract. I mean, we could actually be executing an extension that identifies the type of work that they're going to be doing and then measures it and then bases their payment on that. I also think that I agree with Vice Mayor Coker that if the deliverables are so general that it feels like I'm paying them to figure it out. And I don't think that it is on you to their level of communication with council and the CRA, I think is on them. I don't think that is on, I don't think you should take the blame for that, because I think that I feel like I made it very clear that I was having an expectation of more communication and whatnot. And this is not at all to trash anyone or to criticize the Dover Coal report necessarily. I'm looking forward to us getting to the point where we have more discussions about the Dover Coal actionable items and whatnot. But I just don't feel comfortable with the way the contract is written right now. And it was the same concerns that I had the previous extension, and then they were addressed somewhat with 3 pages of very detailed deliverables. And so that's why I feel like we've kind of gone backward in that regard. And regarding that communication, I just also want to make it clear that I feel like we make ourselves available. I have very specific thoughts, and it spans wards. It spans Ward 4 all the way through. I do this thing because I literally have a picture in my mind of what we want to fill in from Riverwalk to City Park, and I want to share those with them. I think that that's the appropriate thing. So my thought is that I don't think anyone is saying that we don't think that there's a place for the EDC. I think that there is work for the EDC to do, but I'm lacking in confidence that the EDC is going to bring all the players to the table. Like I said, I really feel like it's a collaborative effort between city, CRA, chamber. And I'd like to see the contract reflect what we are asking them to do. If we're asking them to do certain things, then I think that the contract should reflect that. And I think that we could table it and let them work on that, and then we can move forward.
Well, I'll say a couple things. Again, I don't disagree with all the things that have been said. They've actually been working since January, if you look at the contract, for free. So they've been doing a lot of that stuff already, because the way the 3-year contract was written, but again, every year being renewed, that February and June was $50,000 and $50,000. So, you know, what have they already done that we paid for? But that's again why I felt that bringing it up this way was, they're only gonna get 50 through this year, and then we would have into the October 1, so we get them on the right cycle. So, yeah, on that part of it, you know, trying to be fiscally responsible, to make sure we just didn't pay 100 for what we didn't know, and we're getting it. Communication-wise, again, I appreciate you saying that, but some of the things, they've already done a huge part of the Dover Coal that we asked them to do. Whether we all are gonna agree 100% we like Dover Coal's concept 100% is never gonna happen anyway. I love parts of it, and some parts I'm like, it's not realistic. You know, and when you're planning something for 50 years from now, that I hope some of you in the room are alive, but most of us won't be, we want actionable items now. And I think that's important. So I'm gonna go to Councilwoman Barnaby.
Well, my question, I guess, to Ms. Moore is that if you are going to make a motion to table it, will you make a motion to table it to a very specific time?
Sure.
I mean, and then if you make a tabling motion, there's no discussion following it, because there's no discussion on a tabling motion. So I think everybody ought to speak their piece if they're
Yeah.
gonna do that.
And I'm gonna let the EDC council come up.
Okay.
Before we hear anything, so.
But my thought being, this is not something that I don't think should be tabled indefinitely. I think there needs to be a very soon time certain, because I would not vote in favor of, let's table it with no date or time attached to it. I could not support that.
Thank you. This time I'm gonna let Chris C. come up, and he can say his last name for the good part, and he's the current chair of the EDC as the volunteer.
I am. Good morning, everyone. My name is Chris Chunfaleone, hence the Chris C. I appreciate the time and discussion this morning from everyone, and I think we have heard a lot of this feedback over the past couple of months, and on behalf of our board, many of whom we have our board members in the room, I've been a board member on the EDC for 10 years. As the current 2026 board chair, more than 120 investors that we have representing our organization. Some of those leaders here today that are leaders of their businesses and CEOs representing finance institutions, hospitals, healthcare providers, consultants, workforce development, major utilities, business alliance, chamber members, our education partners. And I know Kurt Landefil couldn't be here today. He's traveling, but I know he sent you all letters and has been working extensively with each of you. We are here because the support of this short-term contract extension is really critical to allow us to continue to do the work that we have been doing, as was pointed out, since the beginning of the year in good faith. That work includes a lot of meetings with staff, with the work with the Dover Coal team, above and beyond even what was contracted within that Dover Coal agreement. And I think that the time and an effort that has gone above and beyond is really about the commitment that this organization has to the city of Bradenton. We are here, we are committed because we know that economic development is good for our community. It drives benefits, it drives new business growth. It keeps the good businesses that are here. It allows them to grow. We are the organization that dot connects the chamber, the CRA, the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance, the county, all of the different organizations within our community, the Visitor Bureau, the island communities, Palmetto. We are the organization that is responsible for business recruitment, expansion, and retention within the broader Manatee County area and within Bradenton area EDC. Our job is committed to seeing prosperity across all of our partners and our organizations. I think I want to just note out, it's really important. A lot of the feedback we hear, we agree unequivocally, agree with a lot of it. And I think that it's important as we look forward to tackling some of these things, they're foundational changes to our bylaws of an organizational structure that were just carried over from when the organization split from the chamber over 15 years ago. And so to change those in a time where we are in a new search for our new economic development leader, who we will be announcing next week, I am really, really excited to take on these changes that are really foundational to make sure that we have the representation of all of our investors as voting members in the board. We've heard that loud and clear, and our executive committee and our board, I think, overwhelmingly agrees with that. It's important to note that our new leader has an active job. That's why we've been very confidential. They are serving active clients across the country and across the globe right now. They are actively communicating their transition plan with those clients. We are really respectful of that process. I can share with you, this candidate who is coming in has had ties to this community since they were a child. They have grown up coming and visiting to this community. They have grown up on the Gulf Coast of Florida. They're a University of Florida graduate. They're coming home to our community to do the job of their dreams. They are already planning to move here before this opportunity came up because they want to be here and come home to this community. They are a 30-year economic development professional with an impeccable and incredible resume. Currently, they're teaching economic development agencies across the world how to be better economic development agencies. We have the best candidate coming in to lead this organization, and we are all really, really privileged to have her come to our community and bring that experience. Have heard a bit about the contract discussions and the metrics. I think it's important to note that in the contract metrics that we want to iron out, yes, we want to iron those out because we want to tie them to those specific actions in that rejuvenation plan. We want to tie our work specifically to making that plan actionable. In addition to the regular work that we do day in and day out, we need those metrics to be paired with you all, and that action plan doesn't exist right now. And so, yes, we need to do that with you all and align this extension with the fiscal year. And lastly, I think it's important to note that we've heard a lot about the support of staff and the work that the EDC is doing to support the administration in carrying out the work that the city needs to do day in and day out in this space. And we've talked a lot about the dollars and cents of the contracts and comparing it to the county contract. To be clear, that county contract is $300,000. It's 6 times the contract amount that we are talking about today in this contract. So the metrics, the deliverables, all of the things associated with it are inherently 6 times more impressive or more elaborate, if you will. And so, frankly, I would love for the city to continue to invest at higher levels and continue to grow the work that we're doing and grow the metrics and deliverables. But I think what we're trying to do is be respectful of aligning metrics and deliverables commensurate with the performance of the work that needs to be done and the scope of work, aligning that with the fee. With that, I know that some of our key board members and our interim CEO, Amanda, have been doing a lot of work day in and day out on the work of the EDC, and I think a couple of them would like to say some additional things, and I'll leave it there.
All right, this is a little different than normal citizen comment because this is probably should have been an agenda item that we're looking back on it, but so we would have had more of a dialogue, so we're gonna have that. Is there any questions for Chris before we go? Because I think the rest of the board members and Amanda won't have as much to say. They've heard it, see it, and they'll get through it, but any specific question, Mr. Perry?
Just I think it's important, Chris, and I know
Use
you
the
work.
microphone, please.
Sorry, thank you, ma'am. I know that you put this together with the staff as far as the scope of services. And a lot of the scope of services is exactly what we're talking about as it relates to city initiatives, item number 4. City initiatives, identify other high priority city initiatives, projects and relationship opportunities where the EDC can provide support, including specific projects, related stakeholders, and individuals whom stronger coordination and engagement would benefit the city. I think that's a little bit about what I'm interested in.
Right.
And I don't want to lose that particular function. we've had conversations with Amanda and yourself and Elizabeth and others related to this. And then the next item is kind of important too, which is related to what Councilwoman Gonzalez-Moore was talking about as far as monthly meetings. Number 3, monthly meetings. So in the interim, we would conduct regular monthly coordination meetings with city leadership to review emerging initiatives, ensure alignments, and maintain a proactive communicative partnership. So I'm envisioning basically that we're going to go back to the drawing board, and we're going to do something that we probably should have done a ways back, frankly, maybe under the prior director, which is get more specific. We have the metrics under number 5, and then you guys are looking at retail development as you think that would be a good opportunity.
In fact, we've booked the mayor tickets and are attending a retail conference
That's my
next week
understanding.
in out of state to help bring retail investment into the city of Bradenton, into our downtown core, and develop a specific plan out of some of the actions from that rejuvenation plan. That's I believe it's next week.
I guess my question to you would be, what more specific could you provide if you were given, if this issue was tabled for a month? What would you change from this?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that as we're sitting and listening to the dialogue. I think what it would do is it would probably just come up with maybe more specific, tangible things. You mentioned the marina project, for example. Right. There are things that are out there that the city might need some additional support on. But I think at the end of the day, we want to really tie that to this next step of the action plan. And so I think if we were to wait a month, I think we're working to get a meeting agenda for May 4th already proactively to come back, right, for some updates. All that said, if we were to just wait for a couple weeks or a month, I don't think that it would do anything other than identify ideas. I think what is more beneficial and what's more worthwhile is to take the time to work with you all over the next couple of months to align the rejuvenation plan with the actions, with some of the outcomes of this retail summit, and really be able to tie tangible, specific things. But all of that is work. It's a lot of work to do that. And so I think that's why, to your point, we're asking for this simple extension of the continuation of the prior terms, to not really come up with something in a vacuum that might not align to what we're going to do over the next couple of months anyway, and then now we've got a misalignment there. So I think adding specificity, in my opinion, it might be counterproductive to our end goal, which is really trying to have action plans and action strategies from this rejuvenation plan that the EDC and our staff and Kurt can continue to support. Kurt's a part-time employee that we've continued to support, and his only job as a part-time employee is the city of Bradenton.
So in identifying the other city initiatives and monthly meetings related there too, things like probably City Park and the millions of dollars we're putting into that would provide maybe more specificity, but certainly identifying that as a priority that the city has a lot of money and investment in. And then things like the Avenue of the Arts and the potential for the projects down there, Sarah Studios, what Janine is planning on at I believe, the parking lot area itself. I don't want to get too much into. You would try to identify those. And so we would end up probably with a much more specific contract that you could take during budget time and basically build off that, take it to council and say, do you guys agree with this? You know, Mr. Perry is saying, this is what's going on in the city. This is where a lot of your money's being invested. These are the things we want you to explore. You come up with opportunities on how to develop recruitment, retention, expansion theories on this. Right. So, because at that point, you know, we've done what we can do to help you, and you've done what you can do to help us. And it's tough coming into our building and trying to get meetings set up with counselors. They're really open and trying to accommodate meetings, but it isn't easy. They're busy people. You're all busy people. I'm up to here with alligators and everything, and it needs due attention, both from us at the administration level, you at the vendor level, and council probably at the elected policy level. And you think you can do that, right?
Unequivocally.
All right, thank you.
Vice Mayor Coker.
Yeah. So I was going to question how long. It sounds like you're saying May the 4th. You'll have some more definitive, because you've heard several of the council people that would like to have more specificity. with regard to what we're gonna do. And also, we'll know who that new director is gonna be and sounds great what you're telling me. I'd like to know who it is, and I think that that would go a long way, knowing who that person is. But you think May 4th, if we were to
We have a
table
meeting
it?
May 13th. That's our next meeting.
Okay, well, we're talking about if we were to do the
That's what I'm
tabling,
saying,
how long do
table
we
it
need?
Till May 13th.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I go back to my comment on, we can, City Park, the marina, like, we can list some things, yes. I don't know that that's the intent of what the scope of work that we're trying to do is. Frankly, if we want to start listing additional scope items, we would need to talk about additional fee to cover the services to do that. Just like, in the grand scheme of things, what we're talking about is continuing the work that the Bradenton area EDC does day in and day out in business recruitment, expansion, and retention for the city of Bradenton and Manatee County as a whole. We all benefit as a region when one thing happens just on the other side of the city line, it benefits the city. I think when, the proclamations this morning, when you look at the Salvation Army, when you look at the family members of all of our first responders, them having good, high-paying, quality jobs to work at, allowing for opportunities for growth of our businesses to come in and do the work that we do day in and day out is really, really important. And so, that is a baseline of the work that we are doing in partnership with the city, with the chamber, with Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance, with all of the public agencies and the county. All of that happens day in and day out. In addition to that, what we want to do with the city is take the rejuvenation plan and extract from that great, immediately actionable things that we can implement and facilitate the support of, and figure out how we're going to facilitate and support it, right? Figuring out the scope of work of what we need to do and who's on it, let alone what are those actionable things. This contract extension allows us to continue the work that we're doing day in and day out, and to meet with you all to continue the work with Dover Coal that is already over 50 hours above and beyond the scope of work that we haven't been paid for since January. It allows us to continue that work, to take action plans out of it, and develop our scope of work and our metrics and our deliverables specific to it. Yes, we can further list additional things like the marina and City Park, but what? With those, it's not going to be, I don't think, something that happens quickly, and I don't think that we want to just rush. We want to continue the work that we're doing with you all, with your support, and allow us to then hone in, fine-tune metrics so that we pick back up the pace of the normal annual investment moving forward, which is a third of the county.
Appreciate your honesty from saying that, because again, this isn't like an hourly job. If you spend an hour, you get this much money if you do it, because you never know when you go into a business opportunity, is the city gonna fit? Is the county gonna fit? What their job is, so you have to be part of it. And I know when you said, again, a third, and some of the things I used with you and Amanda and other staff in that was, well, whatever the county decreases theirs by, if they're only 100% was $300 and some thousand. If it goes down to only 80%, then why shouldn't we decrease ours by that same amount?
Right.
So it's not been that we've just been a love fest. From my standpoint, I've been working it hard, trying to do it in a fair way, fiscally responsible way. But there also is that I don't think if we start to get down to metrics of hourly time and then all this, we're gonna be well above 100,000 with what staff time it is. So,
Very clearly.
and again, you don't go into it, nobody's going into any specific business that sits in this audience that says, well, I'm trying to think, I'm only gonna do this if it benefits me on the city pay. I'm only gonna do this if it benefits me on the county pay. So collaboration is what the biggest part of it is. And that makes it, we're not in a silo of one or the other. It's we succeed, they succeed, we succeed.
We all succeed.
And that's the most important part of it. that I think some of the logistical parts hard to quantify. And that's the part that I appreciate your honesty, because that's how we all are. We want this to succeed, but if the county or any other partners don't succeed, we don't succeed either from that standpoint, because literally you can have a business on one side of the street that is a thriving business, but directly across the street, it's one of the other municipalities, and they're gonna benefit from it. So it's hard to say what is the total right and wrong, but it's just, and we can keep doing this, but I think it's important, if we need to have some metrics, if it's tabled to our May 13th meeting, we can come up with some logistical things. And again, it can't be specific to an individual.
Right.
It's gotta be specific to the city community, and I think that's my opinion. So I saw Councilwoman Moore's first and then Councilwoman Coachman.
I wanted to reiterate that I know that there's been work done, but I don't know what it is. I didn't know about the retail conference until Mr. Landefeld sent that letter yesterday. I think that's great. But again, didn't know about it. And then also, are you speaking to the other departments within the city when you say you're having a lot of meetings? Are we talking to, Public Works or engineering? Are we talking to the planning department? I know there's been a lack of communication already with the CRA, so that is the thing, that's the difficulty, because we're up here spending taxpayer money, and I don't know what has been being worked on. And so, it's not really a question. I appreciate everything you're saying. And again, I want the partnership. I think it's valuable, but I'm concerned that this is the third extension, and I feel like we're seeing the same concerns, and they're maybe not being totally addressed.
Yeah, if I may, I think that we have not had an active contract in place since January. In the contract extension, I forget which line item it is, the monthly meetings and the cadence of monthly meetings happening with city leadership, generally that happens with city mayor and with city administrator. The work that collaboration with other departments is all contractually through city leadership. So there isn't any scope of work or things within the work that we're doing that would have us intentionally speaking to Public Works or planning and zoning or anything like that. When we do collaborate with those partners is in the day in and day out work. We've got Elizabeth Cordes and Amanda Parrish. They can certainly speak to all of the minutia and the number of hours and meetings and whatnot that have happened over the past couple of months. But I think that we're looking forward to having those monthly cadence of meetings back so that we can have that regular sharing of information.
Sorry. Yeah, and I just want, if I could say one word to that, is they are getting us information, we get it. Obviously, I can't talk to you a lot outside of this meeting, so go into this, it just came up a few weeks ago that, and it, obviously at the point where I was at, when it first came up, I didn't know if I was gonna be able to go or not with my back. But I thought it was so important to see what this retail conference is about. It's fly in on a Tuesday morning, fly home on a Wednesday afternoon, to see others that would get it, and then I would bring back a report from my standpoint to the council. But one of the things is I don't think we can micromanage. And I'm not saying you're saying that, but it gets to a point where it comes to the city leadership. At the county, it goes to the administration, whoever their point person is, then through the chair to the board at a board meeting. So with this, I'm a little bit different than that makeup, because I'm here every day in a little different role, where if when Sarasota, they just appoint one of the five of you vote on that. So some of that, that's where I was saying, I'll take some of that, because I can't talk to you outside of these meetings and give you as much as we can. There's general stuff, sometimes we can say what's happening, but, and if you think about it, until December, it was a whole different administration there at the EDC. That took several months to figure out, and again, that's what I was talking about, Amanda Parrish coming in. This community was lucky that her boss allowed her to do that, because to the detriment maybe of their business a little bit to do this. But that's where I've seen it as unbelievable what she's done, but the next person has to come in and put their flavor on it. We don't want the train to stop either. And that's where I'm saying, I believe they could probably by May 4th or May 13th, put some specific deliverables in, but it would still be changing all the time because of, you know, what changes tomorrow when this business declines, but all of a sudden, a college pops up that might want to be here.
That's a big part of the lack of specificity and the, you know, specifically the line items that city administrator called out. It's to allow for that flexibility. Hey, I've got a call, I need your all's help with this thing. If it was very, very line item specific and it wasn't identified as one of those line items, now we're in an awkward position of saying, well, yeah, we really want to help you with this. We really support our mission. We are a partner of the city, but we're out of scope.
But I got to wait till 2 weeks from now to go to a council meeting to get approval. We don't want to get into that part.
No, I absolutely do not.
And I know that's not what you're saying.
Right, yeah.
That's different ends of the spectrum.
What I want to, I think that, I think what I'm trying to do, because again, I really think that there's value here and I want to see it, I want to see the value. But I think that maybe what has happened is, you know, disappointment is a result of, you know, maybe not meeting expectations. Maybe I have not effectively communicated my expectations. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just effectively communicate the expectations. I had been operating under the assumption that the work that the EDC was doing was primarily with the Dover Coal report, and the report does have, you know, suggested, or at least the draft that I've seen, has suggested and in time increments that are, in my opinion, also pretty general. They're not yet specific direction. Planning department, rezone this specific parcel. You know, they're not that level yet. But my expectation up to this point was that active work was being done with the necessary people in the city staff that would actually get us to that point. And so I'm not trying to micromanage, and I don't expect a list of, okay, this is exactly what we're going to do here and there or whatnot. But I do think, much like you did for the county, I think it's fair to say that that you're probably going to be able to identify that where they have 5 targeted industries, we might have something a little bit smaller scale, like, you know, I know we have goals. I know we want a grocer that serves downtown. I know we want connectivity from park to park. And so there are things I think that you could be reporting, and it doesn't have to be in a public meeting. You know, I really think that just meeting, or even just giving a report. I mean, I loved what you were doing for the county, that they're gonna get, you know, not only a written metric, but they're also gonna get graphs and other representative materials that really give them a picture, a snapshot of what you're actually doing. It also helps us to speak knowledgeably about the work you're doing, so that when we're out and about and we're talking to people, we can say, yes, this is what's happening, this is what people are doing. Right now, I feel like we're being put in a position to really not be able to do that. And so I feel like that's all I'm asking for, is just the level of research and preparedness that went into the county contracts. I feel like we could hone in on some stuff there. I think that the people are capable, you know, the staff that you have and the board that you have is capable of that. That is really what I was.
No, again, I don't disagree with that part of it, but when it comes down to, do we, and I say, I was a council member at one point, and do we as a council want to be here from 8 to 5 every day? You think about it, your $40-some thousand wouldn't allow you to do that. I feel since my salary is double what you get, and still, that salary at double isn't, I believe what I put in, the effort and I put in, I should get more money if I'm looking at it that way. I don't think I should, but it comes to the point when you have to sometimes let the CEO run it, and then, again, I'm not saying, there's never been a time that we've said, let's not give information.
Sure,
But it's how you get it and how much time you want to put in, and I'm not saying you specifically, but in general, because I lived that for 8 years as a council member, and at first I was wanting to put more in. But then I realized my job is to set policy, sit back and let the policy work. And that's what we've got to do. And that's what we're trying to do today, but also set expectations, whether $50,000 or $100,000, what expectation we would expect them to do for that. And if the metric is set, all of a sudden we look at, well, they've hit this, 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 and this. Now we're at 175,000. Are we willing to do that? You know, that becomes a.
That data management
Right, yeah.
role and to develop the deliverable package and all the graphs in the way that the county is asking, that is a line item reimbursement of staff time of, I think it's $40,000. So yes, it is great. But it does take a lot of time and effort and data collection to have that rigor of and cadence of delivery. And so again, not challenging the why, but just sharing a lot of the insights on the amount of time and effort and work that it takes to deliver that county contract at that level is markedly different.
And that's one of the things that we are lucky, and whether people like it or not, some people say we did it as a favor. It was not done as a favor. It was done to help the city. With Mr. Landefeld, he's probably put in $10,000 plus more worth of work that
Easily.
he's never, you know, he goes above and beyond because he loves this city and he wants it to be better. And when you look at what he did through some of the Dover coal stuff, was he made that better at the heart of making our city better, and there was no reimbursement for that extra. So, you know, but again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole where all of a sudden now, you know, that we're realized, oh crap, we should have stayed with the $50,000.
We have active leads and
And-
active
and-
businesses that we're working with, active leads that we're qualifying, active expansions that we're working with. So it isn't just the Dover Coal scope of work. That was the scope of work that was above and beyond kind of the regular cadence of investment that the city was making as a partner in the EDC. That was really kind of the evolution of growing the relationship beyond just an investor and a supporter into how can we really support the mission and do the work. And that kind of evolved into the Dover Coal scope and the work that was being done out of that, not only the scope of work for reimbursement with Dover Coal, which is their work and separate, but our work in the collaboration, the coordination, Kurt's time, all of that sort of mission. And I know that through that, there included a lot of discussions with all the other departments, but that's not the part about our normal cadence of day-to-day EDC work.
And if we bring Dover Coal back, we got to pay him more money. So
no.
I'm not planning on spending any more money on that if we don't have to, unless you guys want to rank me on that one by a vote. But I just think there's not a good value to pay them more money, in my opinion.
I agree.
I think we can work with what we got through the EDC, make it better, but obviously, there's gonna be a metrics to the local people are gonna be working it, so let's let that happen. Ms. Moore, did you have anything else for us, Coach?
No,
We're gonna keep talking.
yeah, just one little tiny thing, and it is that, it's the crucialness of the communication piece, because, for that level of research that, you know, that I was kind of expecting, if we had communicated with and collaborated with some of the other, you know, I think I actually shared it with Ms. Parrish, the CRA, Iaboni, reports, like they have so much. If you read those reports before you go to this retail thing, I think that you will actually be very equipped to have specific honed in conversations with the retail people. And so I'll just note that that's kind of one of the things, you know, as far as expectations, maybe I don't have to pay you to do that research when we've already paid someone else to do that research.
That's, again, I think the transition from the old leadership to the new leadership is where we are, because it's only in the first quarter of that, or just outside of it. But we've got to be cautious, in my opinion, of saying everything's CRA, 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 because that then rabbit holes us into areas that necessarily might not be a CRA. And I would think Mrs. Coachman would say, I want a lot in my CRA, but there's no money in my CRA. So the retail could be great there, but maybe we could get somebody that wouldn't be. So I'm not disagreeing with, the CRA is so important to our city, but there's other areas that, you know, we're bringing in a grocer that maybe happened in out there, but it's not in the CRA, you know, but it's still farther than downtown.
Right.
So, and again, those type of things are what we would articulate through. So Ms. Coachman, I'm sorry.
Oh, my goodness.
Put it up
You
late.
know.
Last.
I know, I should have put it up long time ago. timing. They have gone through a very serious transition, and in that time frame, still managed to do a job. And it's a job that what comes out of it can't be done overnight. We've already discussed a lot. We have different areas of, things here, healthcare, tourism, and so forth. In time, maybe there will be thoughts about, hey, bring one of those manufacturers of some kind of healthcare equipment, because we have a lot of land and particularly some buildings on the east side. And, it's just those kinds of things will come. And I think at this point, we need to be strategic and not necessarily so specific, but strategic in using and communicating with everyone. Unfortunately, because of sunshine, they're having meetings that we aren't aware of, but you're still communicating with the city. And as far as selecting a new leader, if the person is not from here, I'm of the thought, and I was afraid to say assuming, because you know what they say about assuming, but I'm of the thought that you would pull from a pool of people who have the expertise, which means if they have that economic development expertise, they have the intellect to be able to drop in one area, whether they were born there or not, and be able to plug in the information of that area and do just what someone who was born here. And sometimes when you're born here, you need somebody outside to be able to really see the city, instead of being outward being. Anyway, I'm all for everything that was said and tabling it and so forth. But basically what I've heard, and I'm going to put it in simplistic terms, you're saying to us, hey, you get what you pay for, all right? I think we're getting a pretty good bang for our buck. So I'm, at this point, ready to just approve.
And that would be, I'll put the cards up. That would be what I had asked you all 3 years ago, since I've been mayor, we've gone from a lower amount to a second amount and then to this 3-year contract. That's what I would ask today, that if we didn't have if things were running along smoothly before and we had the same executive director, this probably would have been approved in January, February with discussion, but we would have been saying, okay. But with all situations, good or bad, a lot of times you got to come out of it at a higher level. And I think that's where we have the opportunity to do here. And I don't know if waiting till May 13th where they put a couple of fun facts on it, it's going to be up to us to not only pay for what we've already got per se, but to go forward and get that metric for October 1 of what we see. And so I would ask for the vote today to approve this going forward with everything they've heard and holding it accountable for that. So, again, I asked that 3 years ago and we had a lot different outcome. So I know that it's a hard thing, but I think we're at the point now where we can get this done and get what we want out of it. And right now, as I agree with Ms. Coachman, that we're getting a good deal for everything that we've got from January till now they're not asking for the 100,000. They're asking for half of it because that's what we worked behind the deal because I didn't think it was worth that point now. So, and now we're going to have that. Mr. Williams and then.
So just real quick, I just wanted to point out one thing, and it's been mentioned several times. We're currently working without a contract. So if we ask EDC to do anything, we're asking them to do it for free. And I don't know on a business side if that's a good ask, but I also want to point out that they've continued to work for the city, with the city, and haven't asked for anything. So I think if we're going to ask for some of these deliverables, and I think in the scope of services, number 2 points out identifying high priority city initiatives, working with the city, the stakeholders, and so forth. We're taking this contract and that 50,000 as an investment in having them do that work, and then coming back to us to say, we've heard you. These are the things that we've identified, and we can navigate from there. But this is the end of our contract with them. If we approve this today, this is the end of the original contract. There are no more extensions. So if we come up and if we approve this today, they give us the deliverables, and we like what we see, come October for our budget, we can continue on that. So I think that's something to think about. We can't really, my personal opinion is to continue to ask them to do work or to come back to us to say, hey, these are more things we've identified. I don't know that that's a fair proposition for the EDC. And that's just from my perspective on the business side of it. I think they've done a great job with what they've worked with. Amanda and Elizabeth, I commend you guys for what you've done. Mr. Henderson, thank you for, giving Amanda to us for a little bit of time. But I think, they've stepped into a situation and tried to make it better. And then it's not perfect. Pretty much, there's a lot of things we do that aren't perfect. We do the best that we can. But I think to ask the EDC to continue to do work and to identify things within the city, we need to have an agreement that, we're all going to travel down that same path. And just like any other service, so engineering, construction, we ask them to do the work.
And it changes.
And it changes constantly, right. And it's good communication. I think they've proven they're willing to communicate. It may not have been to the level that we were expecting it, but again, it's a transition period. The new director comes in, we set those stipulations, we set those expectations, and if they aren't delivered, and then we reconsider. But I think from my perspective and from what I've seen, I think give them the opportunity to continue the path that they're on, give the new director the opportunity to continue to make things better and to see what's important for the city, directed by council, directed by the mayor, directed by administration, but to have that relationship. And I think that's what this agreement and this extension does. It just allows us to continue that relationship. If we don't do that, then I don't know that we can ask them to continue to work for the city.
And just before I'll go to Councilman Schuessler 1 second, but I think that one of the things that some of the things we've talked about, Chris, and some of the other things we may agree or disagree on how the process happened at times, but I think it shows who showed up in this room today that from the EDC Bradenton standpoint, and I say Bradenton is Manatee County, but there was some feelings that, well, most of the people on that board, when it was identified as such a large board, were from Sarasota. And we love our partners to the south, but we're Bradenton, so we got to feel, and this council is Bradenton, and we got to feel the love from that standpoint. But seeing who showed up that are taking time away from their jobs today, that they could be the volunteer part of it, is impressive. And I know a couple of Dr. Price with MCR Health and then Andy Goose of Manatee Memorial just left, but they had to leave. We've got Devaney Iglesias who's here. We've got Brittany. We've got Stu Henderson, Amanda, Josh from Suncoast. Who else? Jackie showed up. Missed her part of it, but showed up. Elaney Sokos, Kevin Chapman, and I think, did I catch everybody from Elaney? Yep. So I just think that shows how our community is bought into it. And I think that's important, which, and the several executive board members, I believe, and so they know how, even though we're 1/6 of the county, which you could probably say realistically at 50,000, we're about 1/8, because when you add in the TDC money, it's the county money too. Huh? What? No, but when you add in the county money, take the 50 away for this year, maybe it's more, but again, that's just kind of concept. So I think shows how important it is to this community and your board that they were willing to show up today, and hopefully they don't get in trouble from their jobs. But we have it. Councilman Schuessler and then more.
Yeah, I just wanted to just make clear and add a point. Mr. Williams, your points are valid in terms of the work we've done to date versus where we're going, and it can't work for free, et cetera. Sitting as a city councilman in a single entity, I go back to some of the notes I was taking across the platform, which is whatever we do, we have to figure it out. That's how I feel as a councilman, that whatever we do economic development wise, that it's not necessarily anyone's fault. And I agree with you, Mr. Williams, that we're getting to where we are now in terms of, hey, let's not stop, let's continue to move forward. But I've never worked in an organization where you have metrics and deliverables. And yes, I get things are going to shift as things go on. What we initially thought when we scoped out, things change, and they do. I think the Iaboni comments in terms of classic example. We've done this study. We've all listened to it. Go to AI and podcast because his written word was just a lot that when you listen to it, generically speaking, it's absolutely incredible with his vision for cities and our city and the different areas and the different socioeconomic. So we've done our homework in terms of what we all have for thoughts and feelings, and yet, oh, here's a retail conference that I found out about last night through Kurt, and that's great. Things are constantly shifting. We are where we are now. My point is, I think we need monthly reports. We need to be kept up, Chris. We need to know what's going on, because how am I going to sell to my constituents if we don't know? If we feel like, nope, we've made this decision, and there you are, and it's after the fact. I just want to reiterate that willing to work. We are where we are now. I do think we should table it with some metrics, but I feel like going forward, we need to be kept up with reports, even if those reports shift. Valid information is information is good information. Without it, we're in a vacuum, and you start to think like, well, I don't even know who to call. I'm going to run with this myself. So I do think that monthly reports are important.
And we've got that in the contract, to be clear.
Right. That's number 3, the monthly meetings, yeah.
And whether it's come to the council or individually, but individually, you can call them anytime
Mhm.
and get an update or ask for a meeting. So that's never been not done. It's just the way, again, we're transitioning, so.
Yeah.
You get a new executive director there and that
I agree.
person doesn't
I agree
do it.
completely. The flow of information is not what I personally want it to be. Our board wants it to be. I think that to Councilwoman Coachman's comments earlier, we've been busy for the last 90 days. And I think continuing to do the work, continuing to support the Dover Coal activities, continuing to book investment activities like the retail conference, like the Farnborough Auto Show, things like that, the day in and day out work, the companies that we're supporting that are actively looking at expansions and in-city relocations, the work that we are doing to build out new space of new business and consultant sectors and in the business core. I think all of those things, that work continues to be done. And I think that, you know what, at the end of the day, we've biased toward putting our head down and doing the work and not coming up for air to shout about it. And I'm not saying that's okay, but I know that we unequivocally agree that we need to do that. We need this contract to be able to put in the time and effort that it takes to be able to come to those monthly meetings prepared with the data and insights that you all are asking for and expecting. We need this to be able to do that.
I'm gonna go to an example. Obviously, we get a lot of calls in the city about, and see a lot of positive in our city with this council and since I became mayor. But a company called, it was a fireworks company. They wanted to move into the city of Bradenton. I turned it over to the EDC because they have the best knowledge. So looked at it, well, there was really no building in the city of Bradenton. Because they tried to, so then they're looking at the county, and I don't know what actually happened to it, because I still, all the transition and all that. But again, if it goes to the EDC, and this thinks it's a county thing, and they find something in the city, it's gonna happen. But a lot of that you won't know about till it's actually the announcement from the company because of that. And so I don't disagree with you, Mr. Schuessler, about some of the stuff, but there's a lot of things that can't be said until it's actually happening or done because of privacy, and you've never worked in government, I don't think, before this job, so there's some things that, you know, if I'm at my personal family business, somebody wants to change something or do something, or I found out a funeral home had a Starbucks in it up in Ohio somewhere, and I don't know that we're gonna put a Starbucks in, but there's opportunities like stuff comes along all the time that may not fit in that. But, and again, this group now has not purposely not done anything. It's been the transition. So, you know, and again, we're not talking about signing another 3-year deal. We're talking about finishing this one and getting to October 1.
Correct.
You know, and that's good. But again, with a lot of work from now to October 1, because our budget's done before that. So, and I think you've heard, whether if we table it and come up with the metrics on a piece of paper, or we go with what's in there now today, it's virtually gonna be exactly, we're gonna get it, what we're asking for. So, I'm good. I'm good either way, but I think in May 13th, still gonna be the same. We're gonna vote for it, and hopefully it passes then, from the standpoint of, you've got your metrics. So,
I just don't think that they're gonna be the right metrics. My opinion. I just don't think that
so
they're gonna be,
what more could be honest?
yeah, I just don't think it's going to
Yeah, I know.
yield the outcome that we want and align it with the priorities of the city that y'all are asking for in a
And
timely
I don't think
fashion.
I don't think you're saying that it's not gonna get done what we want done.
No, no,
It's just
just-
hard,
What it
but
sounded like.
but
Yeah,
it's
not-
hard to put it down on a piece of paper.
Not in the next 2 weeks
Right.
for,
Yeah.
you know, for noticing and all that for a meeting.
But I'd rather him say that than say, oh yeah, I'll fluff it up and put it on a piece of paper for the future. Ms. Moore?
I appreciate now, I don't expect anybody ever to work for free. But I know that when I seek a job, I don't expect to be paid for the preparation that I put in to be able to sell myself for that job. And I'm not saying that's what you're asking me to do, but just like to be clear, you know, again, we have I know it's, you know, maybe only $50,000, but it is not my money. And so I feel strongly that I have a responsibility there. I too would like to see it tabled. I think if you're already doing this level of work, I don't understand the barrier to reducing that to writing or to tying the payment to letting us know. I mean, and it could be activity. I don't expect you to tell me, hey, we got this company coming in, doing here, success. We're fast forwarding to ribbon cutting. But just knowing the level of activity, I think, would be good. And I would make myself absolutely available. Like, I mean, I know that it's, you know, allegedly a part-time job. I don't treat it like one. I call it a labor of love. And if you all would like to have more I mean, I would like to have more conversation. I'm actively asking for that. So, and because I think that if you spoke to us about each of our thoughts already about how we get where we're going, we can do the sharing. You know, maybe you didn't know about the Iaboni report. So, and I wouldn't have expected you to, which is why when I read it, I wanted to share it with people that I thought were key to having that information. And so I you know, again, I feel like there's that element of collaboration that I want to see going forward. But I just want to set expectations, I think. And really, at the end of the day, too, you know, I hate to do it. I apologize for it up here a lot. But with lawyer brain, I struggle to adopt a contract that I think doesn't adequately demand performance from the perspective of one of the parties. And so I still am in favor of tabling because I think that with just a little bit of conversation, in the very least with, you know, some of us that are a little bit more, you know, uneasy with the expenditure, I think that we can make great things happen. That's what I would like to see.
Ms. Coachman?
I sometimes put things a little too simplistically. I'm concerned about the taxpayers' money as well. However, sometimes when you get employment, you are being paid as you prepare to do the job. And I'm just pulling this out. The police academy they're being paid while they're being prepared to do a job. And unfortunately for the EDC, they almost were like that. You made some changes, and it was major. And you had to not only flip the script, you had to make sure wording was correct and you were actually doing what you said you would do. And of course, a lot of it is in generalities. So for some, we can't see what they're doing. We can't see all the hours that are being put in it. However, right now, at this moment, this is money we owe for what they've done. And yes, it's the taxpayers' money. I don't like spending it just frivolously either. But it's like, we already hear that they've done a great deal of work. We know they have, because we sat down and talked with, over the Dover, study. And so, I hear everyone, and I just don't want the public to think I'm just saying, no, just pay them, just pay them. I'm simply saying they've done the work. We've expressed to them, and I have a feeling they will deliver after hearing us. But at this moment, if we don't approve this, then they're going to continue working for free. And how much you going to get for that?
Well, and I think, I'm very critical of things we do with the taxpayers' money, of making sure we don't waste it, running it like a business. And Ms. Moore, I don't disagree. Whenever you do anything, you prepare for it, and sometimes you're preparing to get the job, so that comes with it. We had an event the other day where we had 4 contractors come in and prepared for that job. 3 of them didn't get it. Well, they say they spend sometimes $50,000 to $100,000 in preparing for that job that they don't get. So, but this is different because we actually have asked them to do the work already, knowing that it's an extension to it. But if we would have said, well, don't do anything until we give it to you, well, we wouldn't have known where they were. And we would be losing businesses day by day. And I've never been on a trip to a retail conference like that. Now, I wish all 6 of us could go, but that can't happen right now because of sunshine and all the other stuff. But it's an opportunity to fix something that was broke before this group, per se. Even though the board is similar, but it's stuff that came out, that things that happened for whatever reason. Some things happen for bad reasons, but good things come out of it. And I think the way this happened was for a bad reason, in my opinion, coming out of it. I'm talking about the overall picture from last year till now. But we are good stewards of the money, and that's why Mr. Perry and I and Mr. Williams said, we're not asking for the 100,000. We're asking for work they've done, work they're gonna do to continue through September 30th. And if we task them, and it's tabled today, and we task them to come up with some specifics, they're gonna put them in the contract. And we're gonna metrics them out and still have to come up within the next 2 to 3 months of next year's contract. We can't wait till October 1st. It's gonna be probably by June that, yeah. And I think they're gonna be able to show those metrics so far. But I don't disagree with knowing everything else that's going on, but we've never really asked for that, other than in collaboration with what we tell them and what we talk about at board meetings. The board meetings before were just show what's happening. Now they're what's going on board meetings. And I think the new executive director, I would hope the new executive director would come in, and it's not just a fluff, go sit for 15 minutes and listen to positive. Here's what we've done, here's what we've done, this is what's happening. But a lot of times we're dealing with ABC company. I can't say the names yet because that would, jeopardize, nobody would come to us in a separate method to do that. And, but again, our dollars are being shown for that, and that's what would happen. So we're at where we're at. So at this point, I don't know that, I'm not disrespecting any others that wanted to talk, but I think we've talked and the support is there from the EDC to show how important it is to them, to you, to this, and working with the city and we've talked over an hour now, in a good way. And, because again, it's never been that I wanted to hide anything from anybody. It's bringing it to that part of, you know, do we go forward with this contract, with the administration working forward to get that metric sheet?
And all the other work day in and day out,
Day out.
right? And it's not just about that metric.
Or approving it as is right now with that coming forward, or, you know, going and tabling it till May 13th and having that sheet that, you know, I would hope that nothing would change between now and May 13th of what we're doing to keep moving forward.
I would ask on behalf of our board and our EDC that you all support this motion for a continuation of our short-term contract extension with the agreements, the terms, all of the things that have already been kind of agreed upon. We ask you to allow us to please continue our work that we're doing day in and day out, to go to this conference next week with the mayor to represent the city well, to continue the work that we're doing on BRE every day, and also, in addition to, working on that action plan and figuring out the strategy. That's really a secondary item. It's really about the continuation of the work that we've already been doing. And we ask for your support. We understand and genuinely hear and take in full honesty and sincerity the comments of the discussion today. And I look forward to continuing the dialogue with y'all and our new executive director. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Had plenty of discussion, so Chair will entertain a motion.
I move to table. I'm sorry.
Table to a date specific,
Date specific, May,
5/13.
yes.
Second.
All right. So we have a motion to table to 5/13 with all of the information that's been discussed today to have in the contract, which what I would suggest is council to send the information to Mr. Perry. And
Yeah, I would request that each counselor, so that we can go back to these fine people and taxpayers and show them, I would expect at least a one-page bullet from each counselor on what they want in there. If we could get that, it'd be helpful. Because I think otherwise, if we're not gonna get that feedback, it's really not fair to say today that we expect some reformed project within the next 2 weeks.
all right, so motion to table by Moore, seconded by Coker. We'll start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
No.
3.
Yes.
Carries 4-1 with the coming back on May 13th to table. And we will make that on the agenda, the first item, that, so it can get done and brought up and finished early. All right, thank
And
you.
with the permission from the chair,
Yes,
I'd ask that we get that response back from counselors within, what do you think, a week?
less than
yeah,
that.
less
They
than
already
that,
know what they
yeah.
want. I'd say by Friday.
By Friday,
By
right.
Friday,
exactly. Yep.
and then we'll get it to the EDC.
Gives us time to work with them.
Yeah, so, all right, thank you.
Mayor,
Mr. Mayor? Oh,
Yes,
oh,
yep, I'm gonna take a quick recess.
Okay.
Please.
I just wanted to make it real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't, no, it's okay.
So we'll take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back at 10:45. All right, we'll come back off of recess. First thing I want to do, Madam Clerk, is Jackie Dzelski, like I said, came in a little bit early. She couldn't be here on Small Business Week proclamation because they had an executive board meeting and it was kind of last minute. But I do want to ask Jackie to come up for a moment. She's a good person always to put on the spot. But being a now 30-year employee of the Chamber Plus, and you know, our chamber was great with the late Bob Bartz, but without Jackie and what she's done since, obviously I think she probably was heir apparent before Bob's illness, but, and the way it came up. But I just think that one of the things that I'm always so proud of for our community, obviously the chamber's right downtown, but Small Business Week is so important. Small Business Year is what we really are, but Small Business Week is so important to this community because of what we do. And I know sometimes you may not have heard, but we have the best chamber in the world, and they changed the rules about judging us in Florida because we would have won it every year, and you got to get other people involved. And that's the collaboration that we see. And I always talk about you don't always have to agree politically on certain things at times, but you always agree that we're the heart. Our heart is what we want for our city, and that's what I know you have. So I said you did a great presentation yesterday, and we just wanted to say thank you because you make the small business and the chamber continuation of 130 some years now, I think, of who we are and what we are in this community. So I just wanted to personally thank you, and I know the board, I would assume, echoes all of those comments, and our staff and everything we do. So thank you.
Thank you. And again, I apologize, Mayor and Council, for not being able to be here for the very important recognition that you gave small business. This morning, we did have our executive committee and trying to reschedule 9 people's calendars. I apologize, but I know that members of my team and members of the board were here as well. But certainly in recognition of Small Business Week, you hit the nail on the head when you allude to it being the heart of our community. And yes, the Manatee Chamber of Commerce began and was founded in 1889 as the Bradenton Board of Trade. And that legacy of business leadership in partnership with public entities and with so many other organizations and individuals is what's built over more than 135 years, the heartbeat of this community, which is small businesses. It is absolutely not about me, but what it is about is partnership. And I applaud all of you individually and collectively as the city for all of the investment and attention that you pour in to small businesses. We have over 2,200 entities that invest in membership in our chamber. Half of them employ 5 or fewer. And that sometimes is a surprising statistic to those who think about the chamber membership. But it really speaks to how important growing that ecosystem to support businesses has been and always will be. And we're just thrilled to continue working together in the city and in the greater Manatee County region to make businesses even more successful for all of us.
So I'll go to Vice Mayor Coker in just a second. But one thing you said, half of the small businesses are 5 or few members. And when you look at the Tampa Bay region and around us, our size, over 2,200 members, I'm sure there's a lot more members in some of the bigger counties north of us, per se. And not, again, we love all our counties around us, but we're proud to boast on that it's what our chamber has done. And you can say it's about the people, but it's also about the leadership in the chamber over the years to continue that. Because you think of a small business, I mean, and I look back and when my mom and dad started our business, I think there was 2 employees and 4 kids. So we were all employees at 8, 6, 4, and 2, but my mom and dad were the employees. And very shortly after becoming the small business of the year in that industry, with probably 4 employees at that time, but now 51 years later, is that business because of the community. And that's where I think that shows a great, by the leadership, by the board, a great ability to say, how can we help you? And we saw that in '24 with the hurricanes that came through our community, and we would have lost a lot more businesses if the chamber wouldn't have been there in that support. So we appreciate that, and that's why it was so important. We missed the deadline to get it on. Next year we won't. Kelly's probably listening because we're trying to stick to that, but sometimes I do have a little executive privilege in that, and I just thank you for that. Vice Mayor Coker.
Yeah, you had mentioned that it's about the collaboration, but I will also add that it's about leadership, and I think your leadership is exemplary. Yesterday, you shared some information that was kind of new to us, and I would love, if it's appropriate, for you to reshare that so that the rest of the board and the community can hear it.
Thank you. I'm going to try to remember the graph off the top of my head. I don't have a photographic
60
memory, but
sticks
it was
to my
60
mind.
and 66, if I'm not mistaken.
South Bradenton and Bradenton.
Correct. And what Councilwoman Coker is referring to is at yesterday's Bradenton Kiwanis meeting, I shared the recent analysis or assessment by Wallet Hub that shared out of 1,334 communities across the country, they were rating for the best and the worst for starting a new business, for starting a small business. And we are so proud to say that Bradenton and their definition of South Bradenton, which I still need to dig a little bit more into the demographics and the micro MSAs as to why they delineate between Bradenton and South Bradenton. But again, out of more than 1,300 communities across the country, Bradenton and South Bradenton landed at 60 and 66 on the list. And so they that is at the best end of that ranking. And that is something, again, that doesn't happen in a year or two. Sometimes, you think about the earlier discussion on economic development and how a continued long-term focus has gotten this region, this city, our county to where we are. But I will absolutely share. I was thinking about that. I was like, oh my gosh, I was supposed to send that email. So I'll send that when I pop back over to the office, because that is something you all should be so proud of, because you each play a very important role in setting that vision for where we want to see, in this case, the city go. But as we talked about, it's a ripple effect that affects not just the city, but the county and our entire region.
Well, I think that shows the importance of the great debate we had earlier and why it's important to make things work. Again, if we weren't good stewards of the money, we wouldn't be 66 either. Well, we were 60. I thought South Bradenton was 60.
No, they were 66.
Okay, but in the 60s, 4 out of 1,300 plus. But it shows that positiveness, but also being fiscally responsible. So, I think that this can work to our advantage for the future of getting done with that EDC contract, CRA stuff, everything else that we're doing, because some of it is artificially we're doing, but it's now how do we get help, the collaboration from all of us, and I think that's important. So I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but it's easy to do in a fun way, and I did hear that we're up for reconsideration. We're up to 5 years next year or something on the.
Oh gosh, is it already?
Yes.
Thanks for that reminder,
We're
Mayor.
all getting older, so.
Dust
But
off our
congratulations and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you too. I cannot pass up, even off the cuff, the opportunity to thank you for your investment in the chamber as well, as Platinum investors in helping shape the vision and the mission. Your participation, you and your incredible team as well, are so active on our committees and in setting the priorities from a leadership perspective for the chamber. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, Madam Clerk.
Item 7A is the CDBG 2627 proposed use of funds.
We've all got them, read them, and
It's a public hearing.
I know, but any report that we have to have before? Vicki, all good? All right? Yeah, okay, so we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Is this the voting item? I don't think it is, no. Okay. So, May 13th? Yep. All right. Madam Clerk?
Item 7B is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4075, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending Part 1, Charter and Related Laws, Subpart B, Related Laws, Article 3, Firefighters Retirement System of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending Section 1, Definitions to exclude contracted special details from the definition of salary, amending Section 5, Subsection 1, Contributions to lower the employee contribution to 9%, effective upon ratification, to 8% effective October 1st, 2026, and to 7% effective October 1st, 2027, providing for codification, providing for severability, providing for repeal of ordinances and conflicts, ordinances or resolutions in conflict, and providing for an effective date.
All right.
Mayor, briefly,
Yes.
On this item, this basically is a requirement when we change pension programs, basically. And so it has to come before council for formal adoption of the ordinance. You can see attached to it basically is the Foster and Foster actuary study, which is also required by law, to look at the solvency and the fiscal impact of those changes in accordance with the actuary, Sarah Carlson, whose letter is attached here too. The findings are that the fiscal impact will not have significant negative impacts on the solvency of our program.
All right, so it's not a public hearing.
It is.
It is, it's not
It is.
listed. All right. Oh, yeah, public hearing, I'm sorry, I was looking for the blue. All right, so any comments or questions? We'll go to the public hearing. Open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am, Ms. Barnaby.
I'd like to move for approval of ordinance 4075.
Second.
All right, any further discussion?
Just to clarify, I've got 4076 in my agenda. Is that wrong?
You're looking down the neck, the
Oh.
section. Yeah. Good.
Government working too fast, Mr. Rudisil.
All right, hearing no further, we'll start the vote in Ward 5.
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Madam Clerk?
Item 7C is the second reading and public hearing for ordinance 4076, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida relating to the provisions of services, facilities, programs, and local improvements within the City of Bradenton, Florida, adopting Chapter 75 of the City of Bradenton Code of Ordinances entitled Master Capital Project and Service Assessments, authorizing the imposition and collection of special assessments against property within the City of Bradenton, providing certain definitions and defining the terms assessment, service assessment, and capital assessment, providing for the creation of assessment areas, establishing the procedures for imposing capital and service assessments, establishing procedures for notice and adoption of assessment rolls, providing that assessments constitute a lien on assessed property upon adoption of the assessment roll, providing that the lien for an assessment roll collected pursuant to sections 197.3632 and 197.3635 Florida statutes, upon a perfection shall attach the property on the prior January 1, the lien date for ad valorem taxes, providing that a perfected lien shall be equal in rank and dignity with the liens of all state, city, district, or municipal taxes and assessments and superior in dignity to all other prior liens, mortgages, titles, and claims, authorizing exemptions, providing procedures for collection of assessments, providing a mechanism for the imposition of assessments on government property, providing for issuance of obligations, declaring the provisions of this ordinance to be supplemental, additional, and an alternative method, providing for applicability and severability, providing for conflicts and codification, and providing an effective date.
Mr. Perry?
Mayor, as it relates to ordinance number 4076, this, of course, deals with the imposition of a levy of a special assessment for the Ironwood Infrastructure Water Distribution Program. As you know, Ironwood's group had come to us through their master association, I think back in 2021, initially asking the city to consider taking over their water system for water distribution, not sanitary sewer. That's already basically within the city's purview. They asked that we do that, and when we looked at the different options available, of course, we required them to come up to the specifications, the technical specifications that would be required from an engineering perspective to basically rebuild their water distribution system. In doing so, we retain the services of professional engineers to look at the system and to come up with a probable estimate of engineers' cost to do that system, as well as the technical specs on how to do it, ultimately to design the system and to cost out the system. We've had several meetings with the Ironwood Association. We've required them to go to their sub-association, of which I believe there's 15, working through their property manager. In the audience today is Carlos, who I believe is the president of their master association, and other folks from Ironwood itself. This particular ordinance is required by law as a matter of the technical requirements and legal requirements of imposition of a special assessment. And that's why it's particularly required that we pass an ordinance to perfect that in accordance with the law, and then basically the tax assessor and tax collector can proceed accordingly with that assessment. We've provided the financial data, obviously to council, which was approved previously, as it relates to estimated cost, as it relates to payment options and finance options and the like. We're continuing to work on that. The project itself is started and it's under construction. The engineering is completed. We have worked closely with the association, both the Master Association, and they have come in at previous meetings to voice their affirmation and support for this special assessment. This is not the city council or the city administration recommending a special assessment. This is basically the homeowners association themselves recognize that they have an aged infrastructure system for water distribution. It needs to be repaired. The city, it would benefit them to have the city take that system over. And to that extent, they're requesting that the financing mechanism be this special assessment.
Mr. Rudisil.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So Ironwood is clearly what precipitated the bringing forward of this ordinance, but this ordinance itself just creates the framework for how the city would proceed with special assessment. So it doesn't actually levy a special assessment against Ironwood. That's going to be coming in the future. It's not specific to the Ironwood process. It just creates the overall framework within the Code of Ordinances as to how the city would proceed with either a service assessment or a capital assessment.
And since Ironwood's the one kind of asking for it, we had to create that.
That's correct.
And one of the things, I know it's kind of officially been since 21, but it was before that many years when they were having issues. As a councilman in that ward, we had talks about it, and it's in this particular case with Ironwood, it's an older, it's a private system. The city doesn't maintain private systems, and the only way the city will take over a system if it's up to the city standards. So that's why they've come in and asked us, and one of the things that we, and I've asked particularly, is to have this all on the record, because when you have new homeowners come in 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years and wonder why they're being assessed something that they felt they were owed in the water, that this is why, and that's what we're doing to make it better. We're helping a private entity get out of a situation that will benefit all of us in the future. And so that's why. But I'll go to the public hearing, and then we'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing none, Chair will entertain a motion. Ms. Barnaby?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would move for approval of ordinance 4076.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5. Carries,
Yes.
Carries 5-0. Thank you. Mr. Perry.
Mayor, as it relates to item number 8, new business, city administration non-binding letter agreement for GT Bray Park. Within the package is that letter, which of course is defined as a non-binding letter commitment. What it is a mechanism for us to basically set forth how we would do a transfer of a conveyance of the GT Bray property that is currently owned by the city of Bradenton, over to the county, who operates it currently under a very long-term lease. We've made good headway with it. There's a lot of technical issues regarding the survey and title work surrounding that property as a piece of real property. We have a multitude of different easements on the property. We have utilities, we have facilities, including the water tower, the PSOC, Public Safety Operations Center, Fire Station 3, and of course, I think it's Lift Station 23 across the way. And so we have to do carve-outs so that we maintain that property, because it is city, city facilities. And we're working on, again, the title and survey work associated with that. It also addresses the non-binding letter about how the conveyance would take place. The consideration is basically a $10 cost to the county, and the term of it, of course, is a conveyance, and so it would basically terminate the existing lease that we have on the property. And we hope to do that under Section 4, the termination, by June of 2028. So we think we can do it a lot quicker. We've been advancing it a lot quicker. We probably do it within, frankly, 6 months from now, but we have given ourselves to June of 2028. All the fees associated with the conveyance and the transfer, to include recording fees, survey, legal descriptions, and attorney's fees, would be borne by the county, who would be receiving it. There's indemnification provisions in there whereby each party is really responsible for their own negligence and liability prior to the conveyance. As the council may know, we have been the subject of lawsuits, one recently for, I believe, a baseball or softball that struck a child. And since we're the property owner, we were dragged into it. We don't operate the park, of course, and there were some defenses, but we ended up basically, I think, having to go to a summary judgment opposed to a Rule 12b-6, saying that we're just the property owner. Under law, we're not responsible. The court gave that authority to the plaintiffs to proceed through the discovery process to the summary judgment, Rule 56 proceeding, and ultimately we were able to basically extract ourselves from that lawsuit on a voluntary dismissal. But we do have these problems, and we run a joint defense agreement where the county did defend us, and so we want to get out of that business too, where we have that type of exposure, obviously, because the vast majority of operations down there are county operations. Basically, that's kind of the gist of it. Again, we are working with with title issues and easement issues and access issues itself. I did point out to the city councilor on this, as it relates to, there's a go-between really 51st Street and 59th, where on the southern part of the city boundary, even into the county, our emergency services actually use that as a pass-through, the GT Bray area, because you'd have to go back to 21st Avenue, basically, to go either east or west to try to make an emergency response. And so we do intend to retain an access easement to allow us to continue to do that for deployment of any fire equipment, mostly from Station 3, and any police response as well. There's some other kind of technical issues, but that's the gist of this. It's a non-binding letter. It asks for your support.
Mr. Rudisil.
Yeah, just to add a little bit more background, the current lease is set to expire in 2 years. So we're in a position where we either need to start negotiating a new lease agreement with the county, or the other option is for us to look at transferring the property. And so essentially what this non-binding letter agreement is to say, from both the city and the county, that we're going to start working towards the transfer as opposed to start working on that lease extension or a new lease agreement. The other reason to do that now is because, as Mr. Perry said, there's a lot of work that is going to go into that in terms of, what interests the city needs to retain on that property, for the easements and the existing city facilities that are there. So, we wanted to get that process started sooner rather than later.
Mr. Perry, would you anticipate if we wanted to keep this property when the lease expired and take it back over, would you anticipating us wanting to run a public facility like that and start a new division in the city?
A Parks and Recreation Division is probably one of the most expensive undertakings a city can engage in, and it seems like the county does a pretty good job out there. It services the area really well. Obviously, they're doing a lot in the east part of the county with some of their new facilities, but that has been a traditionally very well loved, I believe, kind of facility for recreational parks out there. It's beautiful. We all are very familiar with it.
And I said that tongue in cheek in a way that we do not want to become Parks and Rec. The little bit that we do right now is hard to keep up with, and we're trying to maximize that. But my biggest thing is there would be some provision or something, that an agreement that the county will always keep it to the standards that we expect it's at now and keep improving. And obviously, some of that gets political at times, depending on the county commissioner in that zone. So we would just always have some sort of assurance that GT Bray is going to be the GT Bray that we've all grown up with. So.
Yes, sir. Mindful.
I had Vice Mayor Coker and then Ms. Moore.
Yeah, I would like to definitely provide in there that it's going to, be perpetually a public park for the public. You never know what's ahead. If for some reason somebody decided to develop it or sell the property, that somehow we have a way to claw it back for $10 or, I just want to make sure that it's maintained as a public park for everyone's use because, that's the only park in Ward 1, so.
I'd actually kind of direct that to Mr. Udicel to give maybe an overview on reversionary interest. And the county may or may not be willing to do that. I think generally speaking, they do have long-term plans, but you can put a deed restriction in there to that extent. And the deed restriction is what's called a reversionary interest, but I'm not the land use lawyer or the city attorney, so I'll let Mr. Udicel.
Yeah, that's not something that's been discussed at this point. That's certainly something that we could bring into the discussion. I don't know that there would be an objection. Obviously, some portions of the property are not used for public park, right? You've got a lot of public service components that are in there now, so we have to carve that out of that limitation, but that's certainly something we can discuss with the county.
I just want to protect, whoever is sitting in these seats and their seats at the county, that, that we'll always have a park for the public to use in Ward 1.
Sure.
And I would anticipate that's the process, but we want to make sure that if something changed, and we know by votes, things change and timing of things, but we would always want to have that opportunity to make that choice. When I say we, this board, whoever's sitting at it. So, Mrs. Moore?
That's a great point, actually. So I think that's smart to raise it and address it. Did you want to speak a little bit to the financial impact in connection with now being able to charge for utilities?
Not really.
Okay.
It's a utility bill.
Tell me how you really feel.
All right, any other questions? Chair will entertain a motion.
Well, Ward 1.
Ward 1?
Oh, yes. I will motion to approve the non-binding letter of agreement for GT Bray Park between City of Bradenton and Manatee County and authorize the mayor to execute.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Hearing no further discussion, we'll start the vote in Ward 2.
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Mr. Perry.
Item B, 8B, is the city administration's third note modification agreement with Florida Cultural Group. We're basically asking to continue with the mortgage note that we have with the Florida Cultural Group. About 3 years ago, I believe that note came due. It's for a little bit north of $2 million. And at that time, we dealt with Florida Cultural Group, who was asking to extend it for purposes of trying to find development opportunities. The note itself covers the financing that was necessary to purchase the parking lot, which is directly south of the Performing Arts Center itself. It's quite valuable property. It is intricately important to development of Avenue of the Arts, and initially it looked like it could involve an air rights housing project. That particular proposal that was kind of being developed at the time a few years back has since basically gone away, and I believe the Floricultural Group has another development possibility that has great economic benefit and potential. Frankly, it's a major project. It has been kind of conceptually provided to the community and released as far as what they're trying to do. It's a very complex project, and it would take time to develop it, and a great deal of capitalization as well. It would have immense benefit, I believe, to the area and to the Avenue of the Arts, and ultimately the city. Janine had asked that we basically provide, I believe this is a 2-year extension. Yes, Ms. Corey Fortin, who's been helping me and doing most of the work, not helping me, but doing most of the work on this. We agreed to take to you a 2-year extension where interest is paid on the note, and they are current on those payments. And so we are being reimbursed for the cost of money, which we put out there. What it does is allows them to basically avoid the principal call on the note for the principal at this time.
It's also an opportunity, obviously, as things go forward with Avenue of the Arts, with the EDC is working, bringing other opportunities to that area with it. So, you know, it may not be on a piece of paper yet, but we'll get it on a piece of paper and show how that, you know, and again, some of those things don't come out until they come out. And so I just think it's a great opportunity as we go forward. So questions for Mr. Perry or a motion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir, Mr. Schuessler.
I motion to approve the third note modification agreement and authorize execution by the mayor.
Second.
Second by Ms. Coachman. Any comments? Hearing none, we'll start the vote in Ward 3.
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Thank you. Mr. Perry?
The last item was an add to the agenda, and that item basically involves an MOU between the city and the Pittsburgh Pirates. We are in a situation where we are moving forward with construction of Phase 1 of the City Park project. After many years of design and property acquisition and other planning activities, we're moving forward. We have a timeline to do this Phase 1, which includes some utility location that's located basically directly north of the left field area of Lecom Park. We have some utility, significant utility into that area that has to be relocated and realigned. We're also planning on completing what we call Field 3. We call it Field 3 because it's really, Field 1 is Lecom, Field 2 is the practice field. Yep, and then Field 3 is the new field that would go at the corner of 9th and 13th Avenue. We have some really great conceptual drawings. Folly Bryan, our architect, Stuart's in the back of the room. Their team has put together an awesome project and field design. We have selected, with your approval, a construction manager at risk, Tandem Construction, and they're ready to roll and start some excavation in that area. Currently, that area is under the control, a portion of it in particular, where the parking lot was directly north of Lecom in the left to center field area. And it would be what would previously have been located due south of the Crowley building, which of course was the Public Works Annex. That parking lot contains, I believe it's 242 or 262 parking spaces, and of course that would be where we need to put a lot of the field upgrades itself, things like a lot of flat work, a roadway for turnaround, as I already mentioned, utility locates, and we need to try to carve that out of the existing lease with the Pirates. So in exchange for that, we are trying through this MOU to basically get access to that property and an agreement to be able to use the property and get the end of the property and construct on the property. It deals basically with within the MOU, access to the property for construction, temporary parking. It's referenced in there that we would provide alternative temporary parking of 375 spaces. We do intend to do that in Phase 1, a portion of it in Phase 1 that would be, I believe, due east of the park. And then additional parking over at the solid waste facility and some other ancillary areas to make up the parking requirement that is contained in Section 3 of the Memorandum of Understanding. The Pirates do seek to get Pirate City repairs, which we recognize are necessary. There is a kind of a three-part funding to the repairs themselves, and it's roughly about $10.5 million, with the Pirates contributing about a third of it, $3,500,000. It's interesting that over the last couple of days, what I've seen on the news is a great deal of highlighting of the Philadelphia Phillies facility up in Clearwater, and they're proposing a $200 million upgrade to their spring training facility, just the spring training. They don't have, I don't believe, a year-round facility like we have at Pirate City. And out of that $200 million, I think they're asking the city of Clearwater for $30 million and Pinellas County for $66 million, maybe a little bit more. And they're talking about redirecting that funding from what would have went to the Tampa Bay Stadium when they were talking about rebuilding the Tropicana, of course, in St. Petersburg. So on one hand, I look at it and say, you know, there's a great deal of economic benefit to having the Pirates here in the area, both for spring training and year-round, and a great host of other things they do with their community as being a 55-year partner. At the same time, it's kind of expensive, right? But in comparison to $200 million, and you look at the economic impact, it's a pretty good, it's a pretty good return on investment over a period of time. And so we're trying to basically finalize the details of both operation of City Park, the final financial commitments as it relates to the Pirate City improvements, and also potentially look at some improvements that might be necessary to LECOM. We're working with some of our partners to find some of that funding. We're really positive about it. The state has contributed a good deal in some of those Pinellas projects I referred to, as well as I believe they've committed to funding to Hillsborough County for the relocation of the Rays up to a potential site up there that's in the billions. I think it's over $2 billion for that new project. And so, you know, we're not Tampa, we're not Pinellas County. We're working with our partners here to maximize how we use baseball year-round, how we use City Park year-round, and turn it into a redevelopment, economic, transportation, community enhancement hub. And this is part of that project.
Generational change in a neighborhood that's going to help children.
You say it best.
And one of the things that, you know, when you see all the stuff coming out north of us, you know, money's a lot, but what you get in return, the economic development and everything coming back is so satisfying. Know that we're going to change a community, and you have an opportunity to change the community and give people that haven't felt like they've been cared about for a while, you know, even though it's kind of both. That's been my whole goal the whole time. And this is just that next cog in the wheel. We bought the corner property. We bought the canvas shop. We're buying property across the street, and we're collaborating with the CRA and the city to do that. We bought other property. Not only, I see John Agnelli out in the audience for the Boys and Girls Club. Not only does it, all this benefits our not-for-profits as you go down, and also bringing back that sense of caring and home to a community. So, you know, even though there's ups and downs as you go through things, this is one of those that I think is next step positive. And how do we continue that process with now a ribbon-cutting date being set? And even though all people see all the stuff torn down, and they saw more parking, and the reason there's more parking than the 272 is because they also had a little contract that, oh, by the way, we put a 3 million or 2 million gallon tank on it to store some water where they used to park. So that's part of it. And while improving our public works facility to get us to that next generational thing that we did approve last week, the contractor for that. So this is just another step to that next friendly, great city we're going to have. Vice Mayor Coker and then Councilwoman Moore.
Yeah, excited to get this pushing forward. And just a question as far as the parking that we're going to be providing temporarily while we're using their parking. Will they have exclusive use of it? Will it be on an as-needed basis in the event that they have a lockout, or we still have access to that property? How will that be?
That is a good question. It's interesting that under the lease, basically, the revenue that's associated with it is for spring training. Is 100% Pirates revenue, basically. They get, and of course, it's, as I said, 262, whatever it is. We've never really had a problem with the Pirates allowing us to use that lot or associated other Pirates property when they don't need it for games, right? You know, they need it for spring training games. Of course, it fills up pretty well. We've also added additional spaces when we demoed out some of the things. No problem with that. We actually, they allowed us to use it for regatta, I believe. We had a kind of park and ride situation. So it really hasn't been a problem.
Okay.
When we go to the term sheet that we're working in right now, what we're actually contemplating doing is trying to get some of that parking revenue for non-Pirates or Marauders games. When we do basically those travel tournaments, that we have a revenue share with them for that, because we can take some of that revenue and basically pay down any kind of debt service that we have as related to it. So we're kind of sharing in that revenue.
Okay.
Yeah, good question, and that's the collaboration I think will continue to grow, setting it up, and obviously 58 years, I think, of the Pirates now, and also looking at what the state does with ways to get. Mr. Williams is doing a great job at wordsmithing every way to continue to get other people's money to help it with.
Yeah, I have a great team that's doing it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ms. Moore.
Mr. Williams, so I think if I understand correctly, it's us initially fronting $3.5 million. Is that coming from, I know we have we have obligations with the Pirates to maintain the park. Is it coming from that fund, or is this, I feel like we budgeted, just earmarked $5 million for the purposes of City Park last budget season as a placeholder of sorts, or is that 3.5 coming from that budgeted item?
No, the $5 million was for City Park specific.
Oh, okay, so this is definitely.
What we're obligated to is we have a capital, and it's actually called a Spring Training Capital Improvement Fund, where we donate to it every year as part of the agreement. Some of that will come out of that, but like Mr. Perry had mentioned, we're actually working with some partners and trying to collaborate, because it's not just specific to Pirate City. I mean, this agreement is, but when you think about long-term, we have LECOM that we're responsible for. We have to make sure that we have the repairs. So it's not just what is today, but it's what is tomorrow also. So to answer your question, we haven't earmarked it specifically at this point. We have the funds to be able to do it. That's not a question. It's more of a question of, do we use general fund? Do we save up for the spring training infrastructure? Do we look at some of our partners? Do we ask for some state or federal assistance? So it's a collaboration of a bunch of funding sources, if you will. But again, for Pirate City, LECOM, and City Park. So even though they're two different things, it's instead of just constantly going back and back, let's look big picture and say, this is what we need to make sure that we cover, and how do we do all that? So,
the benefit, I think, to that will be, this council has done a great job at working with grants for our infrastructure, doing different things, getting collaboration through the EDC and the TDC and the county, which is all part of it. And that's why when you look at other things that we do, when we can get other people's money, that's still our money ultimately in taxes, but we don't have to dig into the ad valorem part of it.
Right.
And, but again, they're benefiting from it too. Just because you come to a ball field, if we're having these tournaments at City Park, which is again helping the whole neighborhood, generationally, but when you look at the hotel rooms, we have a 100-team tournament coming here. We don't have enough hotel rooms in the city of Bradenton, so they're gonna be staying all over the county. So that's why we're using our money and getting federal money and state money as it goes. We've been very fortunate, and we're gonna, keep going on that. The biggest thing we just did with some of that money in that fund was those basically paid for the new lights at LECOM. So that's a long-term thing that we're responsible by contract. But how do we continue, the Pirates want some assurances, we want some assurances. And that's what it's, because we're just working with the county to give GT Bray Park. The last thing we want to do is now run a baseball park.
Right.
But the Pirates want to be assured that it's a collaboration, not just one-sided.
Sure.
So that's what I like. So I think we've talked a lot about that. If there's no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, ma'am.
motion to approve the MOU with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Ms. Coachman, second by Ms. Barnaby. We've had a lot of discussion. We'll start the vote in Ward 4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Approved 5-0. Thank you very much. Mr. Perry. Or actually, Mr. Perry, before you start, I would just one more thing. I did mention that John Ignelli is here for the Boys and Girls Club, does a lot with our youth, and I know we had a lot of discussion early on, but everything we do in this community, and I believe our job up here as well, most important is being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, but also as good stewards of our community. And you know me and the Boys and Girls Club, but it's not just about the Boys and Girls Clubs. It's about the kids, because if we're setting an example for the kids and the children that are our future, and I've said it a few times up here, but learned it many years ago at a conference of the Boys and Girls Club, 25% of the population, give or take a little, is children, but they're 100% of our future. So the example we set up here, hopefully, will go generationally into our community with everything we've done today while still being good stewards. And if that is something that doesn't get this job when we run for election, then I'll take it, because I know we're doing the right things for our community and our kids, and that's the most important. So thank you for being here, John, and thanks for sitting through the meeting. Mr. Perry.
Just as that completes the formalized items on the agenda. Just a quick heads up, we're coming into hurricane season, and so we are rolling out some activation and training for that throughout April and May. We'll do training and exercises and kind of dust things off and check technology and different supplies and equipments and policies here in April and early May. And then we'll go into final preseason preparations as far as further inspections and testing of hard support response type equipment, and verifying agreements with contractors and the like, and we'll be ready to go, and season starts in June.
Thank you. Any other department head reports before we go to council reports? Anything? All right, anything? Nope, we're all good. All right, Mr. Chief Gear, you want to tell us about something that might be happening tomorrow to confirm? I think it's tomorrow, a swearing badge pinning.
Yeah, so we sent an invite out. We've got 5 new employees that are going to be having their badge pinning ceremony yesterday. So please, if you can make it. I'm sorry?
You said yesterday.
No, tomorrow. Did I say yesterday?
I thought he said yesterday.
I thought
Chief, what time is that out at over
That's at
Station 1?
3:30 tomorrow.
Training room over at
So training room, you're all welcome. They've been training last week, yesterday, today, and they'll be ready to go on shift soon after their badge pinning. So if you can make it, they would appreciate it, the families would, and we would. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. I just thought, again, I wanted the public to hear it too, that we're progressing. We always, with our police department, all the other departments, and it was great to see today Colonel Lee about bringing somebody that's been so important to our city, and you want to celebrate people like that are put their heart and soul into our city for 25 years, but you always want to celebrate that they have a good career retirement, and that's important. So, all right, going to council reports. We'll start in Ward 3.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Start by saying this weekend our community is preparing for one of the Bradenton's longest-standing traditions, the DeSoto Grand Parade, taking place Saturday, April 25th. For generations, this event has brought together residents, families, and visitors, not only from our city, but from Manatee County and throughout the state.
And the
so-
world.
And the world.
We've got
you.
people from Spain here.
Thank you, Ms. Barnaby. In celebration of our city's history and community spirit. It's much more than a parade. It's a reflection of the pride we have in Bradenton and the strong sense of connection that continues to bring people from all over the world year after year. Events like this not only honor our past, but also create meaningful opportunities to our local businesses and organizations to thrive. Throughout the city, we continue to see steady progress and engagement across all of our neighborhoods. And so as we move through a busy spring season filled with community events and increased activity, focus remains on responsiveness, maintaining our public spaces, and supporting the quality of life our residents expect. So I encourage everyone to come out this weekend, enjoy the parade safely, and continue supporting the local businesses and organizations that make Bradenton such a special place. I do have one further comment, speaking of public spaces, and that is, unfortunately, 17th Street recycling, because certain folks were using it to, dispose of items illegally. 17th was closed, and so we still have recycling that is available. Lewis Park, I am there every couple weeks taking my recyclables there, and it seems that unfortunately the mentality seems to be that, okay, 17th Street is closed and I can't just dump my garbage there, so I'm going to take it to Lewis Park. I was there last week and just upset over the fact of watching our city staff and Public Works pick through the illegal dumping, glass bottles, and open trash. And I saw the looks on their faces as I sat there with my baseball hat and just put my garbage or my recycling in the recycling bin. And I just wanted to mention that let's be responsible stewards of the environment. Recycling is a privilege that we have there that we all take very seriously. So if we're going to recycle, let's recycle. Let's be responsible to not illegally dump in those spots, because it's counter to what those recycling bins are there for. Thank you.
Ms. Moore?
I don't really have too much to report today. I shared with Mr. Williams that we have, that I continue to get positive feedback about what people in Ward 4 can construe and see as progress, which delights me, moving definitely in the right direction. I will let you all know, you may already know, that the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Summit is May 14. It's going to be in our backyard at the Bradenton Convention Center in Palmetto, and I'm really looking forward to having an opportunity not just to learn more about programming that I think is interesting this year. It is not as weather resiliency focused. There is some of that, of course, on the agenda, but that's not the primary focus. And this year there is included food insecurity issues, as well as to our discussion, our very robust and healthy discussion about economic redevelopment, workforce development, and how that pertains to planning and urban planning and whatnot. So I'll be attending that, and I will happily share materials and whatnot afterwards if no one else can attend. But in addition to just the learning, it's also a great opportunity. I personally am looking forward to sharing my city and my county with commissioners from different cities and counties outside of Manatee and Bradenton. And so I will be doing that Thursday evening after we wrap up the summit. So suggestions for any highlights that you think I need to showcase are very welcome.
Thank you. Councilwoman Coachman.
I don't have a whole lot. Councilman Schuessler just mentioned about the DeSoto Parade. That's the biggest thing coming right now, and that's on our brains. I hope we're all together again. All right, awesome. That was fun.
With less obstacles.
Won't have to throw here and under there. That sounds good. That sounds good. Other than that, we had some great discussion talking about what we're trying to do, what we are envisioning for the city. And as always, but I'm going to say this is also for wards 1, 2, 3, and 4. Ward 5 is alive.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Coker,
Yes.
Ward 1.
Okay. I too, I'm going to have to bring up the DeSoto. It's always a favorite time of the year for me, has been for a long time for my family. And all the festivities that are surrounding the DeSoto Grand Parade, and they're celebrating the history here of our community. I did want to do a little bit of a service note to please encourage the public to take note of the road closures for Saturday. I know a lot of new people to the community might not be aware of Manatee Avenue closing and the Green Bridge too, isn't it?
It's open till a certain time.
But just to avoid those frustrations and just, again, pack your patience. Saturday will be a bit of a difficult to travel the roads, so take note. Also, I am very excited about the expanded service on our water ferry. I hope that this service will continue to grow and will be welcome relief to the beach traffic, and hopefully support the area businesses by adding new visitors both ways, to downtown and to the islands. I have had, and I don't know how much we'll talk about this, but I've had, calls, increased calls, and I think part of that has to do with the time of year, the increased traffic. But we've got a lot of calls recently with folks that complaining about some of the horses, but mostly it's mostly been about the jet skis on the causeway. I know, and I have not been part of it, but I know that the mayor and city are looking at alternatives and ways to address some of the valid concerns. I believe that there is a lot of frustration tied to just the traffic this time of year, which is not, it's not only on the causeway, it's all of Florida, especially during spring break. So I think that's part of that adds to some of the frustration. And we are committed to public safety, and that's paramount. But I also want to express that I have no desire to hinder people's ability to use and enjoy our waters. Those are public, that's a public access asset, and it's not only for the fortunate ones who are able to live directly on the water, it's for everybody. And so, unfortunately though, there are a few bad actors that we may need to curtail, that are ruining the enjoyment for others. So we may have to look at some controls. I would also like to caution people and to remember that if we get rid of these people, the horses and the animals and the jet skis, the people that are enjoying our public asset, we know what will fill its vacuum. It becomes a place where undesirables activities start to come there. So I just want to bring that out. One other thing I wanted to mention that's upcoming and kind of put on everybody's radar screen is the second annual Taste and Toast Gulf Coast. It's going to be at the Marriott Resort on May the 2nd. They will be offering the best in culinary creativity, craft beverages, fine wines, bourbons, Kentucky, and then there's a Kentucky Derby watch party, and it'll be all there at the yard. And I believe it begins at 5 o'clock, May the 2nd. So might want to check that out. I heard from those that attended last year, it was a very fun event, and so you might want to look at attending this year. And that's all.
Thank you. Councilwoman Barnaby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to add on a little bit to what Councilman Schuessler said about Lewis Park. In the past, we have had people that have been very courteous and only putting recycle items, but as the other areas became overrun with illegal dumping, in case you're wondering, no, you cannot recycle a plastic toilet seat. No, you cannot recycle a mattress. Those other areas became overrun, and now we're down to just 3 in the city, and I'm afraid that, again, the bad actors are coming and dumping things at Lewis Park that shouldn't be dumped there. And when we close down recycled areas because of illegal dumping, then people on social media, the city of Bradenton doesn't care about recycling. Here's the thing, when people are dumping stuff there illegally and the city is required to pick it up and take it to the dump, it's taxpayers' dollars that are paying for that gas, that are paying for that truck, that are paying the employees' time, and are paying the dumping fees. And I hate to say this, but it appears to me that many of them do not live in the city. They live out in the county, and they've done it for years. And it needs to stop, and I don't know how we do it. I don't know if we put cameras up there and we start charging, meaning you dump something illegally and we caught you on camera and we find you, we're going to have the state's attorney talk to you about charges. That's what I'm talking about, because it's very frustrating to those individuals that want to do the right thing, and you have other people that are just taking advantage of the situation. And I don't know if you want to opine, Assistant Chief Fears?
I will slightly, as soon as we're done with the parade on Saturday, one of our camera trailers has already been reassigned to Lewis Park. So we will start monitoring that to catch it and charge accordingly if we can.
Thank you. I appreciate that. For those that attended the event, again, changing horses here, those that attended the event at the Herring Center for the Arts, the Snatch It event last weekend, they had a huge crowd. It was a lot of fun, and there were some wonderful items that were selected. There was original art. There was, somebody was lucky enough to get a golf cart. It wasn't Ms. Moore, although she was seen coveting the golf cart. But just thank you to the volunteers at the Herring Center for the Arts for all of the work that went into putting that event together. And then I have a very brief letter I would like to read to you all. It begins, on behalf of our family, we would like to extend our sincere appreciation to you, the Bradenton City Council, and Mayor Jean Brown for the exceptional experience we had at Lewis Park last month. As longtime residents of this community, we truly value spaces that bring families together, and Lewis Park does exactly that. Watching our great-grandchildren, along with so many other children, play, laugh, and connect in such a safe and thoughtfully designed environment was incredibly meaningful to us. In today's digital world, it is more important than ever to have places where children can be active, use their imagination, and build real-life friendships. Your leadership and commitment to enhancing our community are clearly reflected in spaces like this. Thank you for investing in the quality of life that makes Bradenton such a special place to call home. With sincere appreciation, Donna and Tom Murphy. They used to live by the park, and their kids grew up there. And then they brought their grandkids, and now they're bringing their great-grandkids. So thank you all very much for your support of the program at Lewis Park.
Thank you, and I'll add to that, Ms. Barnaby, about the Rotary Club that jumped in and really had a big part in taking that. So again, another group of people in our community that saw
Another collaboration.
Great collaboration in that. So it's just fun. And have we seen any butterflies yet?
I
think
have
we need
not
some
seen, we need a little bit of rain. I have not seen butterflies
Yeah, but
as yet.
It's there, so it's a good thing. All right, just going through a couple things. The Causeway, we did have a staff meeting the other day, and we'll be bringing something up pretty soon about some opportunities with how to help curb some of the overuse and maybe, abuse of some things that they're doing. But to make sure that we're putting a safe environment out there is so important. But again, I agree with Council or Vice Mayor Coker that we all up here have said all along, we are pro-business, we're pro-opportunity, we're pro-public park area, but we've got to make sure that safety is one of our top concerns. So that to be coming probably in May sometime. The parade, obviously another fun thing. I've been to probably 51 of them now, I think, going over all the years or more. Many of them, but we'll keep counting on that. It's exciting. DeSoto does a great job and really owning the city for a week as they took the key to the city Saturday. But just a fun event and one of the top parades in the Southeast as well as all around the world from the people that come in. So really excited about that. Recycling. We do not want to eliminate recycling, but we're almost being forced as we go because of the illegal dumping. And when I talk to people that are do it, if we could do it right, we're trying. But unfortunately, the bad actors are overcoming it. And, you know, we've got to really continue to work. And one of the things that our new public works facility might have an area that we can manage and monitor, but that's still a little ways down the road. But we're going to hold in as long as we can with the final 3 sites. But we can't say that they're not going to go away if it just becomes a dumping site, unfortunately. The EDC, Mrs. Moore, you brought up something I thought was very good about workforce initiatives that's coming up at the conference coming in May. One of the biggest things that the EDC works with is, and that may not be specific to the city, but that's another cog in their wheel. And we had Josh Matlock here today, who's the director of the Suncoast Workforce. And so that to me showed how important it was to him to continue that EDC. So again, I think it's the right thing, get the right terminology, and we'll approve it on May 13th with all of the metrics in order. So I appreciate that. And just on that point, let's make sure that we get whatever you think, because Mr. Perry's not a mind reader or a crystal ball in his head to get that to him by Friday, so we can start working to get the metrics. So it's an easy thing on the 13th because they, yes, and we know those metrics are going to ebb and flow. Sure. So I think that's important, but we see how important all of the little cogs in the wheel are. And also, you know, by meeting those metrics, we may give them more money. And that's okay if they're meeting the metrics. But that's what this is creating, an opportunity to grow that. I'm just excited about everything going on. And I'll end it on the Boys and Girls Club 80th anniversary event that happened a week or so ago. And it really showed 80 years of a community that has cared about their children. And we've got a bunch of other great youth organizations, but Boys and Girls Clubs of Manatee County and Boys Club when I went there was obviously something that's hit a lot of people. When you looked in that room of the 80th anniversary, and sometimes you need a milestone to get some of the people engaged, but through auction donations and other things and ways that happened, the Boys and Girls Club for some gifts there for this year and a couple of multi-year gifts raised over $500,000. And sometimes you want to look at what the community gives back to a community, and that shows that we've got a great community. And obviously that's all of Manatee County, but we're really happy. And going off of that, last Tuesday, Wednesday, I think it was, or Wednesday, Thursday was the Giving Challenge. And, you know, for Sarasota, Manatee County and the Giving Challenge, I think it was almost $17 million raised for not-for-profits in this community. So it really showed how Manatee County, Sarasota County, all the municipalities in it care about our community. And I don't know if there's many other communities out there that can say as much as we are still a small town, even with our traffic and all the things happening. But that's because people love what we're doing and want to be here. So really appreciate, you know, all of the heartfelt community that we're doing and just growing. And the water taxi is unbelievable. Get out there and ride the new one, the bigger ferry, because it's a nice ride and there's air conditioning inside if you want, or you can sit out in the weather and you don't get wet anymore as if you're inside. But let's have a great day, and we appreciate it, and God bless the great city of Bradenton, and we'll be adjourned.